it's your boy JTG, aka the author of Damn Why Did I Write This Book, and you are listening to RCWR Show. Yo!
What's going on, everybody, for Tuesday night of February 19th, 2019. All new, the RCWR show. Your host here, Lee Sanders. Pleased to meet you. Nice to know me. Thank you guys so much for checking out this episode. So, we're switching it up a little bit for just this week only. I am doing the show in audio format, just audio format. Now, if you guys were with us for the Elimination Chamber after show, which, by the way, I gotta say, with regards to the web stream, I was surprised that there were not a boatload of people that were crapping on the stream. People were very kind and really not leaving any comments, if I can be truthfully honest. If anything, there was some likes. I really did not see any dislikes whatsoever. There's probably maybe 2 at most, but somehow people soldiered through that. But I made the audio version available immediately, and I saw that a lot more people have been flocking to the audio as opposed to the web stream. So honestly, just to recap for everybody that didn't check out the Elimination web stream, we were having some serious lag issues, and I ended up, as soon as the stream was over, being on the phone with Verizon Fios, their technician department, their tech department, and I was telling them what all was going on. And, oh, well, did you try unplugging the adapter from the router? Did you try restarting the router? No, I didn't do any of that. Okay, well, let's go ahead. Let's do all this. We can reassure you something like this will never happen again. And I'm telling them, hey, this is the first time in almost 2 years that I've had the maximum package for my internet that I've had this type of problem, because we did a fresh install for the internet here at the house. Originally, when I first moved in here, the internet was coming from the basement. And when it rains, the water goes down there in the basement, and eventually we got this mildew and the wiring kind of suffered as a result. So the connection, long story short, was extremely weak. And eventually we decided, after about maybe a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years, we decided, okay, let's go ahead and let's get a fresh internet install up in here. And so ultimately we went with Verizon Fios, and I've had no problems with the streams. You guys recall early on when we started playing around with the OBS and all that, so I could start doing a lot more with the streams, I was having lag issues, but that was only because I wasn't syncing up. My settings in OBS wasn't adjusted just right. Once I had fine-tuned it, okay, I don't have to worry about this. I can just launch the application. Boom. Good to go. No problem. So what went down this past weekend was the first time in months since I have been playing around with the OBS setup that we had those problems. So yeah, I was on the phone with Verizon for about 30 minutes, very cordial, very friendly and everything. And we ended up resetting the router. We even changed my password. Why my password needed to change, whatever, but got off the phone with them, and a supervisor had immediately called me and was saying, yes, Mr. Sanders, yes. Yeah, I'm sorry to call you back, especially since it's so late at your end, but this is blah, blah, blah with the tech department. I'm the supervisor of blah, blah, blah that you just spoke to. Hey, we just want to get a little bit more information from you. What times have you been noticing there's been lag with your service? And I gave them the time breakdown, and they basically said, well, look, we are definitely going to monitor you for the next 7 days. We were showing last week that service was down in your area, but a technician had came out and fixed it. But you telling us that you're still continuing to have connection issues, we're sorry to hear that, but we're going to monitor your account very carefully, make sure everything is on point. And if anything, is it okay if we could follow up with you if we notice any irregularities? And I say, yeah, sure, no problem. You guys can definitely hit me up, no problem. So I noticed when we were doing the audio cast, those of you that were chatting in the Discord, you said no problems whatsoever with the Discord, no problems with the Spreaker, no problems with the RCWR show app. That's available for free for everybody to check out. That is, if you're an Android user. We're working on the iOS version, folks. So that's why we are where we are tonight with just doing the audio, right? I know it's kind of long, drawn out, but I know there's definitely some of you guys that like seeing the face. But just tolerate it for this week. Hopefully we can get everything up and running. At least, look, honestly, I just got to do a test. I just got to do a stream test. And if the stream test works out okay, I will gladly go on ahead and effective next week, we can resume doing how we normally do the shows. I do hope your week's been off to a good start so far. Since last had checked in with you all, came off of a interesting, fun weekend. We had the NBA All-Star Weekend. For the most part, that was good. I really did not. I gotta be brutally honest with you. I didn't particularly care for Sunday night. I know Sunday night was pretty much the big payoff. It was about East versus West. But I gotta be honest, I just could not get into the game. I probably had watched about the first quarter. And I was bored out of my mind. I just ended up changing the channel. It did not feel competitive to me whatsoever. And I appreciate the fact that today's biggest stars are participating in All-Star Weekend, because when it comes to All-Star Weekend, these people that have traveled wherever, they are making it their business to come to this in hopes that they're going to be seeing their favorite stars. So I'm happy that within recent years, the NBA All-Star Weekend has shaken up and gotten a much needed facelift. I gotta say, Commissioner Adam Silver, he just continues to do a phenomenal job. I really gotta give him a lot of props. I miss David Stern, but Silver has really taken it to that next level where basically, and see, that has to go in conjunction with the owners and the players, how it is basically a team effort in collectively trying to make the sport of professional basketball awesome, not just for the players, the owners, but ultimately the fans. Win-win-win situation. There's so much unity, and you sadly don't see that when you look at the NFL, for example. And that's an entirely different topic for another show, but it's really awesome to see everybody come together the way that they have been able to come together, right down to the point of, hey, sometimes when it comes to the team selections for All-Star Weekend, it'd be awesome if we could maybe sit in on the team captains, get their whole thought process on why they're picking this player versus this player. So it was awesome seeing the team selection last week. I enjoyed all of that, but I honestly could not get into the finale of NBA All-Star Weekend. Instead, what I did get into Saturday night, I mean, if I have to be brutally honest, my favorite out of All-Star Weekend is the 3-point shoot challenge, the dunk contest. I love those tremendously. I love just kicking back at the edge of my seat or sofa, watching with some friends, some family, and just, holy shit, did you see what this? Oh man, get the hell out of here. And I can't think of the young kid's name, but the young lad that jumped over Shaquille O'Neal and he bust out the Superman shirt that was underneath his jersey. He just basically ripped it up like he was pulling a Clark Kent, taking off the shades, and just, and he just busts out the S shirt. I loved what he had did in the dunk contest. That was fucking amazing. It was. And shout out to the guy that won the 3-point challenge, the 3-point shooting challenge. Oh, man, that really could have been anybody's game. It really could. I was rooting for Steph. I was rooting for Stephen Curry. I'm going, nah, he is the most deadliest. He is of the most accurate. He's got to have this. And the fact that he didn't come away with it, it's like you never know. It just goes to show you when it comes to the dunk contest, 3-point shooting contest, you think you have an idea of who's going to win it, but you never know. It just has a weird way of just really shaking up. But yeah, of the All-Star weekend, Saturday night is what I look forward to the most because of those particular games. I tried watching the Rising Stars. I guess it was USA versus the World. I tried watching that one, and all I saw was layups after layups, setups for layups. It was just a whole bunch of, felt like I was watching the Globetrotters, honestly. Honestly, that's what it felt like. And I changed the channel after that because I just got sick and tired of that shit. But yeah, Saturday night is my favorite. Now that I play it back in my head, Saturday nights have always been my favorite when it comes to All-Star weekend. And shout out to my buddy Marcus. He was actually telling me earlier today, he said, Lee, guess what, man? Guess where NBA All-Star is going to be next year? I said, I'm not really sure where. It's going to be in Chicago. I go, seriously? He said, yeah, it's going to be in Chicago because he knows I'm a Chicago native. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. I was like, okay, interesting. And the timing of that, as I told him, is perfect. It's perfect because by about that time next year, that 10-part Chicago Bulls / Michael Jordan documentary by ESPN, it should be out right around then. If you're going to capitalize on All-Star weekend and everything, I think that week, beginning that Monday, you should go ahead and you should begin that 10-part series. I would imagine that's going to be a nightly thing rather than a weekly thing, right? So I can't tell you, I am ecstatically looking forward to seeing that 10-part documentary. I'm sure a lot of mixed emotions, fond memories. It's going to be a nice trip down memory lane and to be able to hear stories basically told for the very first time, or maybe we've heard rumors about certain things over the years and to finally get that clarity. I'm looking forward to that. True story. And my girl always reminds me from time to time whenever we're watching basketball and Scottie Pippen comes on the screen or whatever, or maybe I'm watching, who knows, one of my favorite sports talk shows and Scottie Pippen pops up on there. She always goes, oh, there's the guy that could have been your daddy, huh? And I go, yeah. True story. I swear to God. I swear on my life. I swear. True story. My mom had an opportunity to date Scottie Pippen. Yes, the Scottie Pippen of the Chicago Bulls. She had an opportunity to date him. And I'll never forget one of her girlfriends. She was well connected and she knew who was who and everything. She ended up making quite an impression on one of the Bulls basketball players. And I remember it was a case where he wanted to date her, but she didn't quite feel comfortable going out on a date with him one-on-one. So the idea had came up of, okay, well, why don't you bring a girlfriend? And, hey, we could do it like that. We could do a double date. And so my mom's friend automatically had thought of my mom. And the question was asked, okay, well, who is going to date my mom? And that player had said, now, sadly, I can't remember that player. It's been so many years. I can't remember because my mind over the years, I remember just, Pippen. Cause I remember she would go on and on and on about it. So the basketball player had said, me and Scotty, we cool like that. And the friend is like, Scotty, Pippen? It's like, yeah, we cool like that. So next thing you know, here's my mom's friend. She's trying to drag my mom out on this double date. And she goes, girl, you'll never believe who I got. And my mom, she had some pretty crappy luck with guys she tried to date in the past, they wasn't about shit, they ain't shit, and ain't gonna be nothing but shit, so help you God, it pass on by, right? So she's like, girl, man, I hit pay dirt for you this go round. And she's like, really? He's like, yeah, I hit pay dirt for you. Guess who I got for you that you can go on a date with? Do this little double date with me. And she goes, who? I got you Scottie Pippen. And my mom was a huge Bulls fan. Any other person in Chicago that was as much of a Bulls / Michael Jordan fan as I was, it was definitely in my mom. All right. And she goes, Scottie Pippen? Wow, really? She goes, yeah. And she goes, yeah, girl, that ain't happening. And she goes, what? Why? Ooh, he too ugly. And, and she said straight up, she said, oh girl, nah, he too ugly. And she's like, so what? He's got all this money. Who cares? He's with the Bulls, the attention. Come on, who cares? And she's like, oh no, he too hard to look at. No, ain't nobody else available. And my friend's like, but he's a Bulls player. It's like, he's got money. Come on. And I remember I had heard about it because I think the mom's friend had said, you know, hey, Lee, come here. You're like, guess who your mom could date? And I'm like, who? Scottie Pippen. And I'm like, what? He's Scottie Pippen? And she's like, yeah. Wouldn't you like your mom to go out on the date with Scottie? I was like, yes. She would not do it. She thought he was the ugliest looking motherfucker that she ever came across. Straight up honest. That's the thing when it came to my mom. My mom, when it came to her men, she loved for them to be handsome in the face. She loved a cute face. She didn't like no pretty boy. She didn't like not necessarily a GQ looking dude, but she did like her men to look handsome. All their teeth, all of that shit, because in her own respected right, I don't want to say was a cutie because, now that she's, getting up there in age, she's not in her 60s quite yet, but she is still a very, if I say so myself, I think she's a very attractive woman. And I see that a lot of the good genes that's in my mom, the youthfulness and all of that, I've been able to pick up from her because I can show close friends and family pictures from how I looked 10, 15, 20 years ago. And they say, damn, you really haven't aged that much. You've aged very well. And I go, well, thank you. Like, who are you getting the genes from? I'm like, well, it's my mom. My mom hardly ages, right? So much so that a lot of people think for the longest time, even still to this day, they think that my mom and me are brother and sister because we look so similar, right? So, only I'm the one that's hairy. She's totally clean shaven and she's the one that's got the nice pretty long hair down to her shoulders and all that. Not me. Used to do long hair, but that was eons ago. But she likes her men handsome. She likes her men cute in the face. And she just thought he was just ugly. And so it never happened. And I just remember years after that, kind of me and her kicking back, having a few jokes. Hey, Scottie Pippen could have been my daddy, but you chose to turn that down because you thought he was an ugly piece of shit. And she goes, yeah, that's right. And if I had to do it all over again, I would do it. So I tell you, crazy, man. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that 10-part Bulls documentary, man. I really am. Shout out to those of you that's checking out the show via Discord right now. See, we got Freddie in there. I know we got the usual suspects, but it's a case where some of these suspects, they will, like, if they need to get a question out there or a comment, they'll come in real quick and they'll do like a drive-by in the chat room. That's honestly how I notice most of them do it. But I do appreciate the fact that they came on over into the Discord and all that. And I gotta tell you guys, pretty soon I am gonna start having the Discord link be available. It's just right now, the way I'm keeping it is close knit. I'm keeping it very tight. I want to really look out for the long time listeners first, grow the base from there, and definitely look out to those that decide they want to be Patreon members. You know, give priority to those cats first. That way we all can really work on building the community up a lot more, fine tune it. Any cool ideas that we should try to put into the Discord, we can do that, you know, cause it's a test run right now. That's honestly how I would like to do it. I would like to do it with the initial longtime listeners, Patreon members, grow it that way. And then when we all feel, okay, let's go ahead and let's just let the link be available to everybody, then we can go ahead and do that. So right now it's just pretty much hey man, can I get the hookup? Yeah, come here, I get you the hookup. It's pretty much just like that right now from me to whoever is interested. Once I find out, okay, yeah, they're a legit cat, they've been a long time listener, whatever. So, but it's been nice. We did the first show on Discord over the weekend for the Elimination Chamber after show, and everybody was saying, oh, the audio is great, it's great. I wish I could have heard it back, because sadly Discord, not just yet, gives you the capabilities of recording the audio. If there is a way to record the audio, I gotta look at the tutorial, and if it makes sense to me, I'm not gonna go, Hulk smash! If it makes sense to me and I can do it, then hey, I will gladly do that. But I know some people were saying Nitro, because apparently Discord has this subscription where for, I guess, $10 a month, you can access even a higher audio quality and all that other stuff. I don't think we really need to go to those lengths. I mean, that's kind of up for discussion at a later date. But yeah, so NBA All-Star Weekend, I tell you, we had Walking Dead. Walking Dead's been back for 2 weeks now, and they are on a freaking roll. I'm a little bit bummed though that Michonne, the actress that portrays Michonne, I think I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I'm not really sure if I really spent just a couple of minutes on it, but the actress that plays Michonne, you all know from the Black Panther movie, she's going to be walking away from the Michonne character, at least on the Walking Dead TV series. And when it's all said and done, the top executive producers, whatever you want to call them, of The Walking Dead, they basically said she's reached a point in her career where she's getting all of these other opportunities, and they basically want to give her the creative freedom to be able to take part in those opportunities. But they've stressed that the door is open for her to return, whether on the TV show or in some of the Walking Dead standalone movies that's going to be happening very shortly. She basically is always going to stay connected to the Walking Dead family. So hearing that, I love that. Honestly, I love the fact that at least, and it's kind of interesting because I really got to give them a lot of props, because they could have kept this very tight-lipped until whatever her last episode is going to be for this season, and then just have people speculate from there. But the fact that the information had leaked out, of course, many people, oh man, hope she doesn't get eaten by the zombies. Oh man, hope she doesn't get killed off. Please, please, please. And so to basically diffuse that, I can kind of see why the execs would jump out there and say, hey, this is what's going on, but tread not, fear not. She will be back, whether it's guest appearance here or in some of the movies that's coming up. She'll still be a part of the family. We hope we can have her back on a regular basis. However we can get her, we will just be happy to be able to work with her on anything Walking Dead. So, you know, one thing that has been proven time and time again, The Walking Dead, just the TV series itself, The Walking Dead, although it was for the longest time about one character, and that being Rick Grimes. It just goes to show that as far as the producers and the writers, what they have been saying for the longest time, if there is a story that fits the purpose, it fits the need, it fits the narrative of not only telling a great riveting story, but if in the process a character needs to be sacrificed in order to tell that story, then whatever they're willing to do, they're willing to execute. And with what went down with Andrew Lincoln exiting the TV series and basically producers and execs saying, you're never going to see him on the show again. Movies, yes, but the TV show, no. It feels like a completely different beast. It's refreshing. I must admit, it's refreshing. And Norman Reedus, he's really been stepping it up. I've been quite pleased with how he's just been slowly coming into the scene, have more dialogue, and I'm loving that right now. We've got Jeffrey Dean Morgan's Negan. He's now reformed. I mean, his reformed, so it appears, his reformed Negan, it's almost coming off like Magneto. I just got to think about the X-Men comic books and how Charles Xavier and Magneto, they used to be best friends, but then they just had this falling out because the way I've always said with regards to Charles Xavier and Magneto, Charles Xavier is Martin Luther King and Magneto is Malcolm X. And they just keep having this conflict, and very rare would you see them align for a worthy cause. And now it really comes off as if Negan, in this case Magneto, all right, well, seeing the error of my ways, I want to try to be reformed. I want to try to be different. I know that all the heinous, despicable shit that I've done over the years, I know it can't be forgiven, but if I can somehow learn from those mistakes and I can move forward as a man and I can try to become a better individual as a result, then maybe I can win people over, win their respect, and just one day at a time. So I like what is going on with that part of the Negan character now and everything. So I'm most curious how they are going to have the Michonne character exit from Walking Dead. Is it going to be a case where she's going to find some shred of evidence that suggests Rick did not die? Is someone, maybe that girl, is that girl maybe going to resurface that ended up saving Rick? You know, is maybe she going to pop up and say, hey, Rick has asked about you, no questions asked, you've got to come with me right now. You know, how's it going to happen exactly? So we'll know. I don't know if we're going to find out by the time, what is it? Into the Badlands, the final season is supposed to be popping up around the third week of March. So I'm not sure if we're going to find out what's going on with Michonne by then, but it should be quite interesting to see how they make her exit the show for a good hot minute. And then of course you got HBO's True Detective. I'm so blown that damn show. I thought for sure it was going to be going into at least the double digits as far as episodes. I thought we were going to be seeing at least 11, 12, 13 episodes. This shit is pretty much wrapping up this weekend, and I believe that's going to put it at episode 9. Just when it was getting fucking good. So I have not seen this past weekend's newest episode, but just to double down on what I had said on last week's show, I really believe that the way Haynes, Roland, I just believe the way everything is going to end, I just have this sneaky suspicion that the killer, you know, whoever is responsible for, I'm trying to say it in a way where I don't give any spoilers, but whoever is responsible for the death of that little boy and whatever happened to the girl, I just have this feeling that Roland and Hayes are not going to be able to solve the case. It really feels like there are some dark forces at play that, let me put it to you this way. It kind of feels to me as if Roland is possibly answering to a higher power, and that higher power wants Roland to keep tabs on Hayes. That's honestly how it comes off to me. And I know that would be like a serious freaking twist, but that's the direction I'm going. I truly do not believe that Roland is all, and I keep going back to that one scene 2 weeks ago where Hayes comes up on Roland's porch and, he's asking for his help. He's trying to get his help for the case because some things have really rattled his brain with that case of the missing girl and the boy being dead. He's trying to one last time take another crack at it and see if they could solve it. And that was one of the most, I gotta be honest, as a man, it was a tear-jerker scene that was beautifully portrayed by Stephen Dorff and Mahershala Ali. Because you've got Stephen Dorff's Roland character that says to Hayes, how fucking dare you? And keep in mind, Haynes' son told him, hey, he's got good days, he's got bad days, he can't remember certain things a lot of times. And Roland's like, well, does he even remember why we stopped talking? And the son says, I don't think he does, quite honestly. It's like, okay, well, I'll remind him, right? And so I guess Roland's kind of under the impression, okay, so old man's age, he just forgot certain things, but whatever, maybe he's putting on the front, whatever. And Roland just chews into him for basically 25 years. You don't think to pick up the phone. You don't think to say, hey man, how you been? How's it hanging? Can we go shoot the shit? Can we go fishing? Can we grab a beer? 25 fucking years go by. Whose fault is that? And now you come up on my doorstep looking for help. Do you even know why you stopped talking to me in the first place? And we just see Mahershala Ali beautifully have this glazed look of pain and hurt in his face as he says to Roland, I'm so sorry, but I honestly cannot remember what I said, what I did so many years ago. If I put you in any type of pain, I'm really sorry. And then he just breaks down and he starts crying and he starts telling him how, some days he can't even remember his own name. He can't remember the year. He can't even, remember his wife half the time, his now deceased wife. He can't remember her half the time. And you see Roland start to tear up as well. Matter of fact, I believe he started crying and he says to Hayes, do you really remember me? And he says, I only remember parts. It's fuzzy though. It's very hazy. And there was one scene that really just keeps sticking in the back of my mind right now, even as I'm talking about this, where Roland says, hey, look, man, if you need a friend, this go round, you want somebody to sit across from you on the sofa, sitting in recliners, watching a baseball game, or out here watching the dogs play fetch. We can do that all the way until sunset. I'm your man. But please don't drag me back into this shit because I'm out. So, that keeps playing back in my head and I can't help but wonder, I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong that Roland is somehow not in on this and there's dark forces at play that basically have said to Roland, watch this guy, see how far he can get, and then push come to shove, take his ass out. I'm telling you, we'll see. We'll see. The finale is this weekend. We're talking about entertainment and all that. There's a couple of more headlines we could definitely get into. Well, I mean, not really too much has happened since last we were on the air with you guys. There's definitely some wrestling news that had went down. I'm looking at the synopsis of the episode for you guys so you have an idea of the topics that were covered. And I hate to just take a detour, but I'll definitely come back to some more little fun entertainment tidbits that came across my mind since last I was on the air with you guys. But for now, let's just go ahead. Let's make the transition and let's talk a little wrestling for a bit. So look, we had Monday Night Raw. We had Smackdown. Those are now in the books as we are just a couple of nights removed from the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view event. And once again, I got to give a shout out to those of you that took the time out. Cast your vote. Let me know what you had thought about the Extreme Rules. About the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Again, the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Looking at the YouTube poll right now, we've got about 40 votes that's in. We've got about 13% of you that have given the pay-per-view overall a thumbs down. We have 28% of you that are giving it a staying in the middle. And 59% of you are staying in the middle of that pay-per-view. Again, we have a total of 59% of you that are staying in the middle of that pay-per-view. So aside from that, now let's look at YouTube, not YouTube, Twitter. Let's look at Twitter. That's what I was trying to say. Twitter, I am seeing, if I can just pull this up. Yeah, we got about almost 100 people that voted via Twitter. We have 18% that's giving it a thumbs down, 23% staying in the middle, and 59% giving it a thumbs up. So almost a mirror image of what we just covered on YouTube there. So for you all that were a little bit curious, I like coming back to these polling results because some people, they can't watch the pay-per-view. Maybe they're at work or maybe they're out. They're not going to be able to watch it until later on that night or the next day. So it's always nice to come back a couple of days later just to really get an idea of where everybody is. Not to mention, you've got certain countries where, sometimes there's hours delay. Sometimes there's a day delay. It just really depends. So we had Raw, Smackdown for this week. I gotta tell you, looking at that Monday Night Raw, that was very, very fucking rough. Very rough. That was in Lafayette. Ooh, my God. That was rough. And let me tell you something. I felt so bad for those NXT call-ups. I felt so bad for Ricochet, Aleister Black, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano. I felt so bad for them because we get Triple H, he's opening up the show and, you're like, if you're watching this at home like I am, you're excited to hear about these NXT guys. And then the way that Triple H did the setup to introduce them to the fans in attendance and to those at home. And then you have Michael Cole follow up as there's a great video package that comes on showcasing the highlights of that respected NXT star. Woo, all right. This is great. Okay, awesome. And piss poor reactions for all four of these men. And so you could hear a pin drop as Triple H was introducing these guys. The pop was basically DX going into the WWE Hall of Fame. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a little bit. But Lafayette, all throughout the night, that crowd, I've seen and heard shitty crowds in my time. That crowd takes the fucking cake. That crowd almost reminded me of the Capital Punishment pay-per-view that we had got out here in DC. And if you guys remember, it was John Cena defending the WWE Championship against R-Truth. And I remember overall of that pay-per-view, because I remember watching it with some friends and everything. And I remember that pay-per-view, reaction-wise, the crowd reaction, most of the night, it was shitty. And I remember it was so bad. It was a couple of years before WWE had came back to DC and gave us another event. I don't mean pay-per-view event. I just mean a regular event. Whether it was SmackDown, Raw, just give us something. It was a couple of years, believe it or not. I remember that vividly. And as I was watching Raw from Monday night, it was literally, wow, this is almost like the Capital Punishment pay-per-view. What the fuck? If I'm WWE, my sincere advice to them, never, well, let me not say never, cause you can't resist good money, but do not give Lafayette another WWE event for a couple of years. They just are not worth it. I am not sure who was in charge of booking the show, who came up with the idea of, oh, well, let's get the NXT guys out there. That should work out just fine. I'm not sure who was in charge of that idea, but look, we all know, and that's what makes this even more fascinating, right? Is NXT, they have done their run across the city, East Coast, West Coast, Central, you name it. They've done their tours in areas, right? So you can't help but go, well, wait a minute now. WWE should know the strongest markets where NXT is over and really should play to that, right? That makes all the sense in the world. And it was obvious hearing the reactions of all four of those men from the crowd in attendance that they didn't know any of these cats. And it was, well, why should I give a damn? I don't know nothing about them. Pin fucking drop. We see all these commercials for fucking, think about it. We see all these fucking commercials for Pizza Hut, fucking with my family. I'm sorry. Fighting with my family. Well, the sequel really should be fucking with my family. But anyway, fighting with my family. We see that crap. You see all of these Mark Henry's documentary plug. You see all these plugs. But the most simplistic plug that counts the most, aside from, oh yeah, NXT World Heavyweight Champion, NXT Global Champion, the NXT North American the blah blah blah. When it gets right down to the heart of the matter, WWE did a piss poor job in getting NXT over. I have been saying it off and on over the years, and I'm very passionate about it tonight, which is, you've got to create the domino effect. You just have to do it that way. And by the domino effect, I mean, don't just introduce these guys. And don't just, yeah, they're from NXT, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. You just can't. You've got to set it up in such a way where, hey, if you guys like the performances of any one of these NXT stars, go out of your way. Check out the NXT on the WWE network Wednesdays, blah, blah, blah time, right? And I can't recall the last time I saw a NXT spot on USA. Whether Raw is on or Smackdown is on, I cannot recall the last time I saw an NXT spot. Not unless it comes to a takeover event. Other than maybe a takeover event that they're trying to plug, I see no love being shown to NXT from Monday and Tuesday. So that's the first mistake right there. And the second mistake, just thinking from a marketing standpoint, and look, like I said briefly on the show and on social media, if you can have the common sense to have Texas's own Mark Henry put over the Elimination Chamber, put over 205, put over Kofi Kingston, put over the Elimination Chamber, crowning the women's tag team champions, if you can have all that consistency and everything is a nice setup in putting over Mark Henry's network documentary, then you should be able to put that same emphasis on putting over your NXT talent. It's not that hard. And honestly, I feel when you go back, you look at Super Bowl weekend, despite the fact it was Super Bowl weekend, the Puppy Bowl, all that stuff, despite all that, when you go back and you look at the numbers, now, sadly, I don't know if I still have those numbers in my notes. I'm actually looking in my notes right now, and it is a possibility that I might still have it. I'm skimming right here, but when it's all said and done, when you look at the numbers that the halftime heat special was able to do, just all across social media, yeah, I honestly would not be surprised if powers be in WWE looked at those numbers. Okay, these guys got a base. Well, let's try to see if we can capitalize on that. Let's see if we can get a little bit of help with our numbers. And I know the ratings is not out just yet, but I can't help but wonder if those had helped even remotely. And sadly, we won't know at the latest. We probably won't know until sometime Wednesday afternoon. And yeah, I'm looking in the notes, and sadly, I don't have how they did. I wrote it down, and I remember typing it in. It felt like it was in my iPad that I typed it, but it might have been in my phone. But either case, I don't have those notes, but I remember looking at those numbers and just saying, wow, they did pretty good. These are some really good numbers. So I wouldn't be surprised if they basically saw those numbers. Okay, well, let's see what we can get with them on the main flagship show. Let's see what we can do. And there was a part of me that was ecstatic tonight that those 4 men got to perform again. And this go round, it was in front of a crowd that did know their NXT. It felt like out of 100%, it felt maybe a modest 55, maybe almost 60% of those that were in attendance. Actually, let me back up a second. 55, maybe about 58% of those in attendance knew their NXT guys. This one in New Orleans. And I have seen yearly, whenever I've gone to look up tickets for NXT events and everything, seeing where they're heading to next, I have seen that they've toured the New Orleans market. I've seen them tour in various parts of Louisiana. So that was perfect. What they did right there tonight, they redeemed all 4 of those guys, and all 4 of them had great outings. Look, no brainer. No way they were going to have these guys lose on both brands. There's just no way that was going to happen. You got to continue to make these guys look strong, because when it's all said and done, they got to go back to their own respected brands and continue to help put those over. What they did this week, I was quite pleased with them, but it also had brought a good question to mind, which is, of the 4 men, which one is going to be the most successful on the main roster? Right? That's the real question that a lot of people are probably going to be asking themselves. And just seeing what I saw tonight, looking at the 4 men, I think it might almost be a tie between Ricochet and Aleister Black, but I have Aleister Black having the slight edge over Ricochet. And I'll tell you the reason why. Ricochet, ever since they took him out of that mask, good looking face. He's a good looking kid, right? And I see Lee Strack is saying in the chat, Black, race has nothing to do. It's not about race for me. It's not. You've been listening long enough. I never try to pull the race card. I just don't. I may talk about some topics that, like, we're going to get into it later on about John Wayne, because it ties into literally what I had dropped over the weekend before the shit hit the fan with John Wayne. But for me, it's never so quick to go, Black, white, Puerto Rican. No. The reason why, you know what? I bet you Lee Strack was saying Black. I think he was jumping ahead of me and saying Black is probably the one that's gonna be the most successful. So forgive me, Lee, if that's what you meant. Cause as soon as I see Black, I go, nah, man, it ain't a race thing. Lee, I got you. You don't gotta correct yourself. I know what you meant. Yeah, I think as far as who's gonna have the slight edge and going over more, I definitely think it's Aleister Black. Now look, Ricochet, he's got a great looking face. And I like the fact that WWE got him out of the mask. I really, really love that, because he has a really good face. He's got a nice smile. He's got all his teeth. I like that. He's got a great physique. You can sell that. You can, okay? You can, he gives me that vibe. He can adapt to all the demos that WWE needs. But the thing that is going to hurt him the most, if I do dare say so myself, he gives me a Finn Balor vibe. Okay? And I think that is what ultimately is going to be in his future. Now, what do I mean when I say he gives me a Finn Balor vibe? Okay, Finn Balor. Great looking kid, right? Nice rocking physique, right? And he ain't got no tattoos. How about that? If he does, we don't know nothing about him, right? It's in a place that we ain't got no business looking at, right? But he's got a great looking body, great looking smile, hits all the demographics, right? When he comes out, he does the thing with the lights, clap on, clap off. They're with him, right? There is a decent amount of his merchandise that sells. But for whatever respected reason, and he's been without the demon for some months now, but taking the demon, forgetting about that, just put that to the side for a minute. He has this perfect recipe. I got to do a food analogy. You guys know me. He's like, how many of y'all like chili, right? Even if you don't like chili, just fuck for the sake of the argument. You like chili. You know that when it comes to homemade chili, right? I need a little bit of onions. I need a little bit of this. I need a little bit of that. And then you're tasting it. Damn, it's missing something. I can't quite put my finger on it. I don't know if I'm missing maybe a little bit more ground beef. I don't know if I'm missing some seasoned salt. I don't know if I'm missing some black pepper. I can't quite put my finger on it. Something's missing. When I look at a guy like Finn Balor, he is missing that aura, that in the palm of your hands aura, eating crumbs out of your hand aura, right? He's missing guys like CM Punk. They have it. Guys like Daniel Bryan, they have it. Who else guys like Kevin Owens has it. To a certain degree, Sami Zayn has it. Finn Balor doesn't quite have it. And when he can finally get that one necessary ingredient, he really could be a force to reckon with for years to come. Roman Reigns slowly but surely started to get that. Despite how some fans feel about it, he was starting to get it. I mean, he had that swagger and he was able to play off of the crowd pretty well. Cena, the maestro of having the fans eat from the palm of his hands, right? Balor doesn't quite have that just yet. And as far as I'm concerned with regards to Ricochet, I believe those are the cards that's going to be in his immediate future. Now, some of you all that may be hardcore Ricochet fans, you may say, Lee, nah, man, you're wrong. Well, we'll wait and see. Because I gotta be honest, I remember when Ricochet had the mask on and he was doing this thing and Impact Wrestling and Lucha Underground, and I thought for all of the high flying stuff that he was doing, it was amazing, but I do remember him cutting his promos and it was dry as fuck. And what I've been seeing of him in NXT, it's been dry like a mother. So, being honest, Black, he's got everything you want. He's got the size. He could probably put on just a little bit more bulk, but I think he's fine where he is. When I say he could probably put on a little bit more bulk, I would love to give him a challenge of adding about 15 pounds more of muscle mass. Just 15 pounds. Anything else, that would be a bit too excessive. But my challenge to him would be to put on just about 15 pounds of more muscle mass. And that's it. He's good. He's got the whole package down. He's got the look. He's got the entrance. The music is fucking killer, by the way. Great fucking moveset. Love his moveset. Love his black mass. That's one hell of a finisher. That spinning kick to the face. I love that. Nobody does it more beautifully, and more fluid than Black. If I had one negative thing to say about Black, it would be that some of his promos, they feel a little bit weak, right? And I don't know if that's really the fault of the writers and how he's executing it or what. I can't quite put my finger on it just yet, but I would love to see more personality come out of Aleister Black. When I hear the name Black, right? I mean, first off, let's really understand this character. Let's really understand this music. Let's understand, let's understand this character. Let's understand this music that he comes out to. Let's understand his entrance. Fuck. What's your name, kid? Aleister Black. Okay, so Black. And you've got this dark, heavy metal, gothic music that's going on. Right? You've got these people screaming in the background. You got the smog, fog background, and lights go out. It's dark, right? It's this heavy, gothic, evil, evil, shit that's going on with you. Okay. I need you to go out there and I need you to be the baddest, sadistic, evil motherfucker, right? So, his character is going to need a little bit of tweaking, right? It's going to need just a little bit of tweaking. Something about the coldness and execution in the way that Undertaker has, for all these years, been able to deliver that iconic character. And he doesn't even really need to say that much. He can just go out there, look at you crazy, look at you cockeyed, and the moment just fucking sells in itself. But Aleister Black, he's got everything down. He just needs to work on his promos more. And the way that he would be able to really take his promos to that next level is for him, Triple H, even Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. I would love to see all of these guys work together in helping getting that Aleister Black character to that next level. What they're doing right now, that's a good baseline to get a feel for how everybody is perceiving the character. Well, now that you've got that baseline down and eventually you're going to be part of the main roster full time, now we've got to go past that barrier and we got to crank it up to that next level. So, and I think he will successfully be able to do that. I definitely will. I think of all the guys, Ricochet, yes, but 10 times, oh hell yeah. I think when it comes to Black, H is going to have his hands all over Black. I think Black is going to be the one guy that H is going to be paying very close attention to on the main roster and making sure that that dude does not get slighted, because we've seen what happened with some of the other NXT call-ups over the years, and it's been a bust, right? Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa. These two I'm concerned with. I really, really am. Now, what they did with the Revival, that was good. Seeing them tonight take on Sheamus, Cesaro, even though Cesaro and Sheamus are not as big as they used to be, they still looked almost, I won't say massive, but they still looked kind of huge against Gargano and Ciampa. And seeing these guys on the main roster, I'm really, really concerned about them. I really, really am. I'm more so concerned about Tommaso than I am of Gargano, because Gargano, I already know that it really depends. A heel Gargano would not do well on the main roster. That's my honest takeaway. I don't feel that a heel Gargano would do well. I think a babyface Gargano would suffice. And I think those first couple of feuds that Gargano would embark in are very critical. If you can have a case of Gargano facing Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens, Daniel Bryan, who else? Who else you got on there? What's the dude that Aleister Black had faced tonight? Cien Almas. If you can get the ball rolling with him facing a handful of guys like that, then he has a really good shot at staying in the upper mid card. He really does. Tommaso Ciampa, on the other hand, and I love Tommaso Ciampa. You guys remember what I had said on this very show? Go on the YouTube channel and you should be able to pull it up. RCWR show mock draft. And I remember it was me, my good friend Titus Machiavelli. We did our own mock draft. And I had pulled Tommaso Ciampa to Smackdown. And what I said back then still rings true to this very day. If you are trying to capitalize, now look, you can look at this two ways, and this is how I'm looking at it. I'm basically saying the same damn thing I said a couple of years ago when it came to Tommaso Ciampa being on the main roster. If you are going to try, and I even said, I can see him being a world heavyweight champion on SmackDown. Put him on the SmackDown roster, I can see him being a champion. Now, currently, he's the NXT World Champion. If you want to somehow take that version of Tommaso and you want to put that on SmackDown, I say bring it. There is plenty of real estate. Tommaso Ciampa could definitely go up the ranks and be that player that you need for the SmackDown side of things. I could definitely see that. And Lord knows with that upcoming Fox deal, the expectations, honestly, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, they would be great additions to the SmackDown side. Honestly, I say Gargano, Ciampa, put them on SmackDown, put Black and Ricochet on Raw. That's honestly how I personally would do it. But if you take Ciampa, you put him on Raw, you can forget about it. Because I have a feeling that by the time the trigger is pulled and Ciampa is permanently going to be on Raw, you're already going to have Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar for however long he's basically going to be there. Who else? Roman Reigns, I think maybe is going to be back by then. Like what exactly is going to be happening with Tommaso over on the Raw side of things? I mean, seriously, be realistic with yourselves. He would be more of a feeding fish to somebody on Raw. That's the honest truth. Yeah, he'd be good for the first couple of months, but seriously, is he gonna be main eventing with Roman Reigns or main eventing with Braun Strowman? Nah, that ain't happening. Could he maybe do a little something with Seth Rollins? Yeah, maybe. If Dean Ambrose sticks around, could he do a little something with him? Yeah, maybe. It's possible. Could he maybe do something with Sami Zayn? That is, if Sami Zayn stays on Raw. Yeah, that's possible too. But what happens after you run the course of that very limited cycle? Then what? Eventually he's just going to be a feeder. So if you really want him to thrive, you've got to put him on SmackDown. And the same thing goes for Gargano as well. Black, Ricochet, mark my words, I think when all of this plays out, that's the way it's going to go down. Ciampa, Gargano, Raw, Tommaso Ciampa, Gargano, SmackDown, Ricochet, Black, they stay on Raw. That's how I'm looking at that one. See, other than that, what else? We saw tonight. Hey, I was just on this show a couple of nights ago, and I said, look, given the sudden change of course that's happened with Kofi Kingston, I told you guys on the Elimination Chamber after show, I said, do not be surprised if it's announced Kofi Kingston Daniel Bryan at Fastlane. And I even said, if I'm WWE, I'm capitalizing on this newfound attention that Kofi Kingston has, and I'm going to set up another match. I'm going to set up a one-on-one match between Kofi, Daniel Bryan at Fastlane. That's a great buffer as you make your way to WrestleMania. And that was the announcement tonight. Now it's going to be Kofi, as we saw that main event match. Who was it? Main event match, it was Kofi Kingston teaming up with AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy, if I'm not mistaken, to take on the team of Randy Orton, Daniel Bryan, and who was the third guy? Samoa Joe. That was a great 6-man tag match to pretty much close out Smackdown for the night. After that match was over, Shane McMahon came on now, made the announcement that Kofi would be facing Daniel Bryan. I'm really pumped for that. If I'm not mistaken, this will officially mark the first time in Kofi Kingston's career that he's having a one-on-one pay-per-view match for the WWE title. Can we really stress that? Because the Universal title, you trace its history, but the WWE title, you can trace its origins successfully. The important belt in the company, as far as I'm concerned, still. That is just fantastic. I'm very, very ecstatic that Kofi Kingston is getting this opportunity. I really am, because it's been a long time coming. For all the time that he has put in to the company, I really love the fact that his work is finally being appreciated, that the value he's been bringing to the company all of these years, because let's face it, for these past 11 years, for the most part, he's been a really great utility player. He's been a great enhancement and advancement talent, as far as getting other talents to a certain level and what for not, So I think that's great that WWE brass is giving back and saying, all right, you know what, Kofi? All right, we're going to toss you this. Go out there. Don't make us regret it. Go out there and hit a home run. And what he did on SmackDown and then what he did at the pay-per-view last week, everything culminating in this reward that has been bestowed upon him as a black man. Yes, I'm fucking pumped. I'm ecstatic. I'm happy for the young man. And like I had said a couple of weeks ago, Kofi, just go out there and enjoy. This is your moment. Enjoy. I know there's going to be a lot of people that want more than ever to see a black champion. They want for maybe Kofi Kingston to get that title. I just don't see it happening, folks. I would love to see it happen. Trust me. Stranger, crazier things have happened in the WWE. I would love to see something like that go down. But no, it just ain't happening. I would love for it to happen, but it ain't happening. But, wait a minute, wait, hold on, guys. What happened here? Hang on here. Oh, that's weird. That was really freaky. There was a weird, I'm just kicking back here. And the next thing I know, one of the pages I had on, in the browser, it just went, oh snap, blah, 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 ain't working. It was like, wait a minute, the internet went out? What the fuck? No, we're good. But let me make sure. That was really weird. No, we're good. Okay. That was really, really weird. Okay. Anyway, I'll edit that out later. But no, as a black man, I'm very ecstatic. I'm very happy. I haven't been this excited since Booker T had faced Triple H WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight Championship. The big gold belt. And I just remember how excited I was back then. And man, that promo that Triple H cut on Booker, that was one of the most infamous promos that Triple H had ever cut, that still rubs a lot of people the wrong way to this very day. All right. To this very day. But I remember just being a teenager and seeing all of that go down and just how ecstatic I was that Booker T was going into Mania. And I remember me and my friends, we were rooting on Booker T. We were hoping that Booker T was going to go into Mania and he was going to get the job done. And you got to understand, during this time period, you know, you kind of heard a little something about, oh, well, you know, this is what happened behind the scenes, blah this, blah that. But back then you could still be naive and not really know that much about the inner workings of the business and really feel like this shit is real as fuck, right? And man, realism at its finest back then, bending reality and all that. I remember how pissed off I was when Triple H beat Booker T. I remember, I think I had I don't know, man. I think I had a can of soda or something. I remember just throwing that bitch down on the ground. I said to the top of my lungs, I said, fuck Triple H, a piece of shit. And I remember throwing the remote. I remember there was folded chairs and I remember throwing that all over the place. And I went to bed. I was extremely pissed. And, I've been waiting patiently for another opportunity that would come where, all right, here we go. I was excited when Shelton Benjamin came to the scene, and you had 3 consecutive weeks where Shelton Benjamin had beaten Triple H. And wait a minute, could it be this is the guy? Could this maybe be the future? Believe it or not, there was a time period where a lot of us were under the impression Shelton Benjamin, he was the man, that it was all about him. We were looking at a future champion. And, wait a minute. I got Lee Strike saying, no internet. You mean you ain't got internet? What you talking about, Lee? Everything's working fine over here, brother. I think that might be you. No, we're live, brother. We are live. We're live. Ain't been no disconnect, man. I don't know what's going on. Ain't been no disconnect. We've been good over here so far. 'Cause I get a notification that tells me when there's a disconnect. So I got the switchboard that's open here. I see the live status. When there's a disconnect, it automatically tells me. So no, we've been pretty good so far. But yeah. Freddie's even saying it's been working great for him so far. So I don't know, my man. That might be an issue with you pay your bill. You better check that bill, dog. You know they don't play around. Some providers, they'll cut your shit off at midnight. They'll be like, it's over. Free ride's over. What were we talking about? Yeah, Shelton Benjamin. It really looked like he was maybe the chosen one. And we saw how that pretty much had panned out. But believe it or not, there was a time. Some people may hear that and they may say, what? Like, there was a time when Shelton Benjamin legitimately was looked at as, well, maybe this could be our knight in shiny armor. Maybe this is going to be a future world champion, and it didn't pan out. So all these years that have gone by, and look, Mark Henry, great fucking run that he did. That was a great fucking run. I've been salivating at the mouth for another, just the idea of somebody black main eventing a pay-per-view for the title. I've been salivating at that since Mark Henry. Okay. So I've been waiting patiently as long as the next man. So I know deep down in my heart, Kofi Kingston is not gonna get the title, but I'm still going to enjoy this for all that it's worth. I am. Now look, there is that part of me that's thinking in the back of my mind, isn't it kind of funny how the timing of this is all impeccable because it being Black History Month and, okay, WWE's kind of gotta meet that quota with certain demographics, yada, yada, yada. But this has to be the one time where I go, no, I legitimately don't think it's about meeting a quota. Cause if it was going to be about meeting some silly ass quota, then why even have Kofi Kingston face Daniel Bryan at the March's Fastlane pay-per-view event. You're already done with Black History Month. There's no reason for you to keep on, right? There's no reason to. I think legitimately I would be surprised if they were taken back by the reaction of Kofi. They probably just thought, we're just going to do this and that's going to be it. I don't think they had in the slightest clue that Kofi would go over and get the type of reactions that he was going to get that 1 hour match from Smackdown and then going into Elimination Chamber. So I'm going to be enjoying this, and that's my message to everybody else. Enjoy this for all it's worth. If you want to see change, if you want to see more diversity, what y'all have been doing with cats like Kofi Kingston, you've got to keep that up. And the other way that you need to represent is buying the merchandise. They listen to that. They are looking at the numbers. They're paying attention to those segments, right? Oh, Kofi Kingston's coming out when? What segment? They're looking at that. If there's a slight spike, if the tickets selling at the gate, if that's up, if everything's up, and you can tie everything back to that particular wrestler, they pay attention to the almighty dollar. So you guys need to remember that. You go out there to these live shows, whoever you're cheering, they're paying attention to all that. To quote what Stephanie McMahon had said a couple of years back, we look at the WWE universe like a focus group panel. We try to figure out what works for them, what doesn't, and we try to do our best to cater to them. Now that can be challenged to a certain degree, but I honestly do believe that legitimately WWE does look at their fan base as a focus group panel. I legitimately do. So that's all I got to say with regards to Kofi. So, I'm ecstatic. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to seeing what these two men are going to be able to do one-on-one. I already know it's going to be another classic matchup. I am hiccuping over here. I got to take a little swig of water, guys. I'm sorry. Good stuff. Hey, can we recognize some of our sponsors? I want to do that before we go any further into tonight's show. And if you're enjoying this episode right now, if you're checking it out via live, the Spreaker app, or live via the RCWR show app, available for free for you Android users, make sure you click on that heart or like icon. Make sure you click on that bad boy. Let's recognize some of our sponsors, man. I really appreciate these guys. Big shout out to Anthony Missionary Thomas of Wrestling Soup. My amigo. Shout out to Michael Wolf, John Davis, and Joe Raymond Jr. Make sure you represent. Check out the RCWR show on Patreon, patreon.com/RCWR show. Get access to bonus audio, video content, some of which you won't be able to find anywhere else. Some of that content you'll be able to access days early as part of a Patreon member, commercial free, unedited, uninterrupted, good stuff. Check that out. And also, by hooking up there, you automatically will get the invite to set up your Discord username so you could come on in and join the party. Don't want you guys missing out. You get access to all of that great stuff, just $5 a month. So do sign up. And I really do hope that we can get a lot more Patreon members, because I got to be honest with you guys, I've got this year alone, I've got the wedding coming up, and we're getting ready to put down a wedding deposit on it. And then we've got to pay a couple of grand for that. Then we're getting ready to cover Awesome Con. Awesome Con's happening before, way months and months, way before the wedding. We're getting ready to cover Awesome Con in, April. So hopefully we can get a couple of more Patreon members, because it would be nice, because I'm eyeballing some more equipment for the show. And it would be nice to make that investment. There's a couple of more items I need, and then I'm pretty much set. Other than that, anything that kicks in for Patreon, that money would be used to pay for the show app, website, all that the stuff that most people don't care about, but it really helps in keeping the shows going. So do appreciate our Patreon members, man. They're the heartbeat, reason why you guys are able to continue to get shows like this for free every single week. So where do we want to go from here? Let's keep on going. Let's stick to a little bit more wrestling news, man. How much time we got here? We're doing pretty good on the show time. So we got about an hour, 30 minutes in this. Okay, let's keep going. I think we can honestly, no bullshit. I think we can honestly do a 2-hour show. I honestly think we could do about a 2-hour show. So look, let's switch it up. This shit about Corey Graves. I kicked back over the weekend, doing my thing, moderating and, other chat servers and everything. And I gotta tell you, between that, seeing what people were saying on social media, everybody, it's one thing if you have an opinion on, oh man, but to form an opinion in such a way that it is of authority and that that person, and I was seeing shit just get taken way out of context with regards to the Corey Graves. So look, over the weekend, Corey Graves' soon-to-be ex-wife, and I need to stress soon-to-be ex-wife, as he revealed on Sam Roberts' show a couple of months back that he was in the process of getting a divorce. And the way things stand right now, he has been out of the house that he's shared with his wife and 3 kids. He's been out of that house for 2 months now. He's found a home of his own. He finally came clean to his soon-to-be ex-wife within the past couple of months and said, hey, there is somebody that I'm now seeing and things seem to be going really, really well with us. And okay, transparency and really just trying to let that soon-to-be ex-wife know, hun, I'm doing everything I can to move on with my respected life. Okay? Now, we don't hear this because that information came out the very next day. But day one was basically his ex-wife going on her Instagram account and saying all this fucked up shit, basically saying Corey Graves, her husband, has been cheating on her with Carmella. And she was posting unflattering, kind things. I'm not going to repeat all that, but then there was a video of Carmella wishing one of Corey Graves' daughters, happy birthday, and the ex-wife pissed off, saying all kinds of fucked up shit about Carmella and the whole situation, and throwing Corey under the bus, saying, man, this is what I get. This is all the thanks that I get. I've been so supportive of you. There were so many times where you dipped into the bottle. I'm paraphrasing here. You dipped into the bottle. You were drinking your ass off. You were suicidal. You're crying. And, I was always there for you. And now look at you. You're successful now. And you're doing me like this. That's wrong. Yada, yada, yada. So a scorned lover, basically, is what you were dealing with. Hell have no fury like a woman scorned. Sun to a shadow, rose to a thorn. Ain't no fury like a woman scorned. Prince song. And everybody was just, oh, how could Corey Graves do that shit? Oh, man, that's so fucked up. Oh, dude, man, I lost so much respect for Corey Graves. Oh, no, man, what the fuck is he thinking? Ooh, that's what I kept seeing. And at one point, I said, look, people, the thing that you guys need to remember, and what have I always told you on this show for some years now? I've always told you guys, there is one side, there's the other side, and right in the middle is the absolute truth. And sadly, we'll never know that absolute truth. So you really have to be unbiased as humanly possible and try to take a step back and look at everything from all sides. This ex-wife sharing screenshots of conversations that Corey is having with whomever, I could care less about that shit. I could care less about that shit. Now I'm going to look at this a couple of ways, because I can definitely relate to this and see, while you've got knucklehead, podcasters, websites, putts as I like to call them. I've been saying that for a good while now. I'm just putts, you damn putts. God, you don't want to be driving with me, because every time I see a goddamn idiot, I yell, you fucking putts. That's my signature. You fucking putts. You know, but you got these websites, you've got these podcasters, and they are acting as if they are of the authority figure, reporting this news, and, you know, that's what makes me different as opposed to I've got the experience. I know what it's like to be in a relationship, in a marriage, where it's not going right, it's going south, and now you're in the process of having an ugly divorce. You've got friends that are in the middle of a divorce. I have that experience. That's what makes me different from the knuckleheads that just want to screen capture and post the shit on their blog or in their goddamn YouTube video just to make themselves look fucking relevant. Like, ain't I cool? Don't I know what the fuck I'm talking about? No, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. All right. And if people would get their heads out of their ass and stop trying to be in this society where gotta be first to report this, and then when more information comes out, you look like a complete ass, right? Very rare when you see somebody piggy on back and have a correction to make about the story that was put out yesterday. Made a serious mistake when issuing a but no, you don't see that shit. It's just subscribe, right? That's the truth. Not knocking anybody in particular, but you guys have seen enough, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. All right? People want to have an opinion on this, and it's, wait a minute, this ain't nothing new. Couples go through spats, fall in and out of love, like a change of the seasons, all the time. This ain't nothing different. What makes this so different? I personally do not give two flying you-know-whats about what is happening in the personal life of Corey Graves. Now, you know what? Somebody dies in the family, kid is sick. All right. Hey, man. Really hope they pull through. Saying a prayer for you and your family. That's as far as that goes for me. I don't care to that extent. Who you banging, who you sucking, who you licking. I don't care about that shit. What I care about is what you're doing in front of the cameras to entertain me, my friends. That's what I care about at the end of the day. When I turn on my TV, I'm not thinking about your personal life. I'm thinking about you entertaining me, making me forget about my problems for that 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, right? That's that mentality of most people. Okay. So let's be for real on that one. Does he say things sometime on social media that makes him come off like being totally honest? And I'm sure he would agree with this assessment. Does he say stuff on social media that sometimes make him look like a dick? I'm sure he would admit to that. Does it warrant coming at him in such a way where I'm going to take a massive shit on whatever is going on with his personal life? No, I'm not going to speak of things that I do not know, and nor should most people. But the way this society is, and with social media being at the touch of your fingertips, gone are the days where you wait on a wrestling magazine once a month to get the latest skinny, or, you know what I'm saying? Gone are those days, or subscribing to a newsletter. Now, everything can come to you at the touch of a fingertip. And because that information can travel remotely so fast, and you can get it within seconds, now everybody feels like they are part of whatever. Okay? This type of shit happens all the time. Now look, for all we know, an arrangement might have been made where, hey, hun, look, it's obvious it ain't working. I think we should go on ahead. I think we should see other people. And you know what? It'd be good. We could give each other some space and maybe in a couple of months, see where we are, see if maybe we can kind of make this work. And honestly, if we can't, then we'll do what we need to do. So you don't know if maybe they made some type of an arrangement like that and he ended up going in the direction that he respectfully went to, wherever that is, or what have you. You don't know that. You don't know if maybe there was infidelity going on long before she said something. Was it really him that was doing the infidelity, or was it her? You see what I mean when I say there's one side, the other side, and then in the middle, the absolute truth? You never really will know the absolute truth. But you've got him saying to Sam Roberts in an interview from a while back, he's in the middle of a divorce. No secret right there. He's in the middle of a divorce. He's been out of that house now for about 2 months. Came clean that he's been seeing somebody else. Now, there is such thing as a scorned lover. There is such thing as a lover that sees that, wow, despite the fact that I'm kind of hurting over here, I still want for the relationship to work. This other person, they don't feel that same way. Man, I'm feeling hurt. I want to get back at them however way I possibly can. Can I raise my hand? Can I raise my hand? I've been there. I've done that when things were not working out between me and my late ex-wife, rest her soul. I did get to that part where I was so bitter. I was so jealous. I was so upset at the fact that she did not want to put in the time and effort to help save our marriage. That, because I told her, I said, look, we can go see a counselor, blah, 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 blah. She didn't want to do any of that. She did not want to do any of that. And that made me beyond pissed. I remember that while I was renting a room out of a house, I remember she, with the help of her parents, was able to get herself a little small home. Little small home, had a wheelchair ramp and all that shit. And I remember at one point saying, well, shit, we've been married for 5 years. I can actually take her to court and half her shit will be mine, including her 401k, all that shit. Her 401k, if I'm not mistaken, her 401k, she had about at least almost 300k. At least, I bullshit you not, at least 300k. Because they would invest some of that, as you all know, some of that 401k, they would invest some of your money in stocks and all that shit. And the people that were paying attention where she worked at the stocks, they did a phenomenal job in allocating it in the right areas. I could have made her life a living hell. I remember even telling her at one point, I was so pissed. I told her, I said, I'm going to fucking sue you. I was like, you ain't been nothing but bad to me. Not trying to make this work. You're continuing to see other people, behind my back acting like I'm stupid. And that was the truth. She actually was trying to date other men. I don't know what the hell she might have been doing. I know I bust her one time. She had actually paid for some nigga's Greyhound ticket and it was going and coming round trip. So she paid for some dude's Greyhound ticket round trip, had booked a hotel for 3 days. And reason why I knew, 'cause I was just, I'll never forget. I saw on my phone, I saw this picture of some guy's dick and it wasn't my dick. I said, hun, what the fuck is up with this? What's up with this? And she goes, oh, that's just my friend. I'm like, what friend? I'm like, what friend shows you their dick that isn't your friend? Oh, he's a gay dude. I'm like, huh? A gay dude showing you his dick? Like, why? oh, he always likes to brag about how big it is. I'm like, okay, and what does this have to do with you? If he's gay, why isn't he showing it to other men? Why is he showing you, a female, his dick? I don't know. He's just playful like that. That's the bullshit lie that she tried to fucking tell me. So I already knew what fucking time it was. Okay? And I'm like, okay, well, two can play that game. Two can play that game. And I remember it was just tick for tack, tit for tat, tit for tat. Okay, let's try to make it work. No, I don't want to make it work. I just remember going through such a headache with that fucking girl that I just said, okay, you know what? Let's go ahead. Let's get this divorce. I finally caved. And I remember there was one conversation I had leading up to me finally calming down and doing the right thing. I remember I told her, I'm going to take you to court. I'm going to fucking sue you. And, you know, we went back and forth. We yelled. And I remember I didn't talk to her for probably about a week and a half. And then the cooler head had prevailed. And I called her and I said, look, man, this fucking sucks. You've been my wife for 5 years. You're pretty much all I know. This is the first real relationship that I've ever had of consistency, and we've had our fight, sure, but you bring out so many good parts in me, and I don't want to see this end, but if this is what you want, I'm reluctantly caving in. Maybe we'll find our way back to each other. Some couples do that, but it is what it is. I'm sorry I said I would take you to court and fucking clean you, because truth be told, you've done a lot for me over the years, and that's the God's honest truth. She did so much for me that she should not have done, and I gave very little back. And I just remember being straight up, and she said, you know, I appreciate that. You know, yes, I have done a lot for you over the years, you know, but it's okay. You know, it's all right. The important thing is you are where you are right now. You know, it's okay. And I remember after that, as long as we had been married, the fact that we were now working together towards a peaceful divorce, I remember we became the best of friends. I remember we became even more friendlier with each other as opposed to being in a marriage. Just imagine that for a second. We got along 10 times better as besties as opposed to husband and wife. And I'll never forget, you know, before she passed, one of the things that she said to me, she said, you know, before we had stopped talking and everything, she said to me, I'm really glad that you didn't take me to court and you didn't sue me. I'm really glad that, because you really could have gone in that direction. It honestly would have been well within your right for some of the fucked up shit that I did to you in the past. And, you know, you would have been well within your right. I'm really glad that you tried to make this be as peaceful as humanly possible. It doesn't always work out that way. One of my friends from high school, their parents had went through a very nasty divorce. And my friend's husband has suspected that the wife had been cheating on him with a friend in the family. And, you know, unfortunately, he could not prove it. You know, all he had was a lot of circumstantial evidence, but ultimately everything was just without that concrete proof. Because he was looking to clean her out big time. He was looking to take half of everything. Half of fucking everything. Because he was so hurt. He had spent years trying to save the marriage. She was not interested. He knew that she was seeing other people, particularly he knew that she was seeing one particular male for years. Couldn't prove it, but he knew of it. And once she finally had decided that it was time for her to end the marriage, rather than, okay, I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to peacefully work on this divorce and you keep what's yours, I keep what's mine, we go our separate lives like the Phil Collins song. No, instead, he let certain people talk up a storm in his head. And the next thing you know, he throws in a countersuit with regards to the whole divorce, trying to get half of whatever. So now he was feeling bitter. There is such a thing as a bitter lover. There is such a thing as a scorned lover who, okay, I'm trying to still make it work, but this motherfucker isn't trying to make it work. What the fuck? There is such a thing as that. So we sadly won't really know exactly what is going on with the Corey Graves household, nor should we really care. Cause like Lee said in the chat, you know, hey, he's got his problems. I got my problems. Everybody's got their own respective problems. So why the fuck should we care about, right? But let me say, the biggest mistake that Corey Graves' wife made, making that shit public. No, keep that shit in-house. Keep it in-house. I can't tell you how, I'm old school like that. If I got a problem with somebody, I'm not going to take it up on social media. And I just wish some people would stop doing that shit. You got a problem with somebody, go right to the source. Not that hard. If I got your name, I got your number, I know where you live, I'm calling you up, we gonna squash that. That's how that go. I ain't got time for that, tell that on social media. I ain't got time for that. That's a kid's game, right? You know, if you respect somebody like that, even when you feel disrespected, there's no reason for you to still let the entire world know what's going on. Keep that shit in-house for the sake of the kids. And what I saw that was displayed from Mrs. Graves was very selfish, because the kids are already caught up in the middle as it is. But to have them be put in this type of limelight, that's just not fair to them. So now she wants to delete stuff. She wants to basically, you know, tweet and delete or whatever the fuck you want to call it, because she did a lot of this shit on Instagram. Post, delete. You want to do that and now make your account private? Whatever. Corey Graves saying they contacted me, they're going to sue you. That's a bitch move. First of all, you know, what's WWE going to sue her for? She ain't said nothing derogatory about the WWE. If she did, I missed it. I ain't seen no posts about her slamming WWE. All she basically said was, you know, hey, I know you, Carmella, whatever. I'm paraphrasing, right? So that whole shit about Corey and, you know, WWE said they're going to, don't do that. Come on, dog. Don't do that. Now, if I got to pick a bone on Corey on anything, don't do that. That's a bitch move. That is a bitch move. That comes off to me like a sign of guilt. If you fucked up and you did something you know you did wrong, don't be coming at the other person talking about a lawyer and all that other shit. Cause you already in the middle of getting a divorce. So what the fuck is a lawyer? What they gonna do? It's an opinion versus an opinion. Last I checked, until circumstantial evidence can be presented that says otherwise. So don't pull a bitch move like that. And, you know, but she comes off like a really good woman. She really does, because, I mean, my God, you know, a good woman that is making the sacrifices so that her man can go out there and try to fulfill his dream, try to do everything in his power to provide for his family as best as he can. You know, no, it's okay, hon. Don't worry. You know, we'll come back to me continuing school, blah, 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 blah. We'll come back to me later. Right now, you go out there and you do this because you're the one that's closer to obtaining that dream. You go out there and you do it. Go do it for us. Right? Let me tell you something, man. Like I said over a weekend, a good ass woman or just a good ass partner. A good ass partner is with you when you are at your lowest, when you ain't got no money coming in and they are with you through thick and thin, they are with you as you are coming up. That's what I always say. It ain't about who you got around you right now. It's about who was with you at the beginning. Because those that are with you at the beginning, those are the ones you want to be with you at the end. And that's the God's to honest truth. That's some serious food for thought right there. Now, other than Corey Graves, Jimmy Uso. I heard about my man Jimmy Uso, and I gotta say, I shook my head at that, because I'm just going, damn, Jimmy, really? So now we got more information that came out. So apparently, I don't know the city or the state, but basically, there is a police report that's out there. Basically, Naomi was the one that was driving, and Naomi was driving in a wrong direction, something of that nature. And a police officer had saw her basically go in the wrong lane, make this wrong turn or whatever. And it's described that he was being an asshole. He was one of those, I'm the law, I got this badge, so that gives me a hard on. I can pretty much strong arm my way around wherever, whenever, because I'm the law. I am the law! So Jimmy Uso was not really feeling that. He was a bit intoxicated. All right. And he removed some clothing, threatened to beat the crap out of the cop. Cop warned him he was going to tase him and all that. Naomi tried to do her best to defuse the situation. Jimmy eventually calms down, but he still gets arrested. So that's where the arrest comes into play. I can understand Jimmy's frustration, because I would like to believe that maybe he was trying to defend his woman, his wife. Maybe this police officer was acting a certain way towards them because maybe they were either minorities. I wouldn't put it past. All right. In this day and age, Black Lives Matter and all that shit, I wouldn't put it past if this officer was okay. So for them to experience that type of harassment that they had experienced, and for Jimmy to get hot-headed like that, I understand. I sympathize. Again, I sympathize because been there, done that. I've been in that situation before. Now look, man, I don't care what your race is. You ain't gonna win an argument with a police officer no damn day of the week. I don't give a fuck how tall you are. I don't care how many days a week you go and you lift weights. I don't care how often you take vitamins and I don't care for all that. Okay. Now, I'm older than Jimmy. I got Jimmy beat by, almost 7 years. As far as age, I got him beat by about 7 years. I remember, I've told this story before. I remember me, best friends, Ebony and Brian, and they will tell you this story, right? Pretend brother and sister, they will tell you this story. I remember when we were sharing a 2-bedroom apartment together. There was one hot summer night, and it was the weekend. We had a Shoppers Food Warehouse store that was open 24/7, except for maybe on Sundays. I think they maybe closed for just a couple of hours so they could restock or whatever. But pretty much they were open 24/7. And I remember this one Friday night going into Saturday morning, I had said to them, hey, I think we should maybe go ahead and do some grocery shopping. And that's just how it was with us because, you know, we were usually night owls on the weekend. And since we didn't have to go to work on the weekend, we normally would stay up, play video games, watch music videos, watch movies, whatever. And usually we would do grocery shopping late at night. And I think one of the main reasons why we operated that way was because I think because of the job that Bryan had at the time, he would usually be the last one to come in for the night. We would come in at decent hours. He'd be the last one to come in kind of late. So we usually wanted to make sure that he was with us. So this one particular night, we decided, okay, well, let's go ahead. Let's go to the store. Now, all we had to do was leave the apartment complex, walk about 7 minutes tops, and boom, we would have been at the grocery store. We had to walk out of the complex, walk in the direction of a metro rail station, and there was a bridge. There was like a slight detour. You could continue walking one path that would take you to that metro rail station, and then there would be like this, kind of like a fork in the road. Then there would be this other path that you could take that would take you in the direction of the grocery store. And during that path, you'd come across a bridge, creek, boom, you're there. We couldn't even get out of the complex. And if you ever saw the movie Boys in the Hood with Cuba Gooding Jr., if you ever saw that one and you remember how the black police officer and the white police officer had acted towards Cuba, we had two cops that acted just like those guys, particularly the black dude. So we had this black dude that stopped all three of us. We were on foot. Didn't even make it out of the complex for like 2 minutes tops. And we have this black cop, that's, hey, where you guys going? And, I take the lead. I say, hey, officer, I was like, we're just going to the grocery store. It was like, well, you guys got ID? And it's like, none of us had ID. It was like, no, we don't have ID. It's very important that you guys have ID. And it's like, well, officer, we weren't expecting to be pulled over for walking at this time of night. All we're doing is trying to go to the grocery store. Hey, if you want, you can give us a ride over there. We would greatly appreciate it. It is kind of late. And, the officer just continued to give us the third degree. And he mainly kept looking at Ebony. And Ebony, a very attractive woman. She had on Daisy Dukes, was showing off her nice long, pretty defined legs and everything, nice tiny little waist and all that. All right. So I can kind of get the perception of, okay, so you think that maybe this is a call girl. Okay. Right. And that's the thing. She wasn't dressed like a hoochie or anything. Like, she'll tell you, she wasn't dressed like a hoochie. Her Daisy Dukes, it wasn't her fault that her legs looked as well defined as it looked. I mean, she looked like she went to the gym. That's basically the body that she had, and I just remember saying to them, I said, guys, this is so fucking stupid. I mean, let's just go. Right. And the cop insisted that we stayed right there. And I just remember saying to him, officer, look, I said, you're talking to somebody that, like you, works in law enforcement. It's like, I work security. Like, we look at you guys like big brother, big sister. I'm like, you're picking on the wrong people. You are harassing the wrong people right now. If anything, you need to be messing around with the people that be in front of our buildings selling crack, selling weed. Those are the guys that you really need to be cracking down on. We're the good tenants. We're the good guys. We're the ones that call you when we see fucked up shit going on in this neighborhood. Now, if you don't think we live in this complex, we'd be more than happy to personally take you back to our apartment. We can show you our IDs. Our IDs match up to this building where we live. Number for number, apartment number, all that. Now the officer did not want to even do that. So at this point, he wanted to detain us. He actually called for backup. And I remember telling my friends, man, fuck this nigga. I said, let's just go. And I remember the cop, he said to me, he said, look, he said, if, you take one more fucking step, you're going to jail. And I just remember Bryan and Ebony, they looked at me and Bryan, he's looking at me and he's mumbling like, dude, shut the fuck up. And Ebony's just looking at me and her eyes are just kind of like, please don't make this worse. And so, I finally shut up and the other cop shows up. It's a white cop. and they, the white cop, he's like, so you don't have your, I said, no, officer. I said, we were just going to the grocery store, blah, 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 blah. I was like, we've been doing this that was the thing. At that point, we had been living at the complex for, probably about 8 months. And we had been doing that for a long time, leaving out at night on the weekend, going to the grocery store. And it wasn't like we were buying $15 worth of items. Whenever we would go to the grocery store at that time of night, we would always walk away with about $300 worth of groceries between the three of us because we put our money together. So we always spent about $300 on groceries. So I remember I gave the other officer my social and I told the other officer, I said, the white officer, I said, look, I was like, guys, like, as I was telling your colleague, if I'm allowed to talk, I was like I was telling him, we just came out of our apartment complex. We're just trying to go to the grocery store. We're trying to buy some groceries and we're trying to come on back. Like by now we could have already been back. And I told him, I said, I work security. I'm in law enforcement just like you guys. It's like, I don't understand, what the problem is. We're not the enemy. It's like, I'm sorry I'm being difficult, but when I feel that me and my friends didn't do anything wrong and this kind of feels like racial profiling, what else am I supposed to call it? And the white officer, he ran a check, came back. He's like, he's clean. And I remember they asked for Ebony and Brian's socials as well. Everybody was clean. So finally, and it took like about maybe 35 minutes, finally, they cleared us to go on our path. And I remember those officers, they had their lights off, but they followed us pretty far, like enough so we couldn't see them. They stayed with us long enough until they were able to see us walk inside the Shoppers. And I just remember, if you ever saw Boys in the Hood and you remember how Cuba Gooding Jr. had came back home after that whole ordeal and he was pissed and he was crying and he's punching thin air. And I literally felt like that once we got inside. I was okay when we were out in the street and, and I remember they both, kept patting me on the back. They were like, it's okay, dog. It's okay. It's like, compose yourself. It's okay, dog. But I remember when I got back in the house, I was physically upset. I'm pretty sure I had cried. And, I remember telling my mom about it. And I tell you, that's something like that as a young black man, something like that you just don't forget. So I can really sympathize with where Jimmy Uso was coming from. I have no doubt in my mind that maybe there's a certain way that this officer was acting either towards Naomi or the both of them. And Jimmy he wasn't going to have any more of that shit. And he was going to tell that officer off, but cooler heads always prevail. And see, it's kind of hard for a cooler head to prevail when you're intoxicated. I'm quite sure that, maybe in retrospect, if he wasn't, remotely intoxicated, it's a terrible mugshot of him, by the way, from Detroit police. I'm quite sure that, if he hadn't been drinking or whatever, maybe the result wouldn't have happened like that. But it's kind of one of those things you just don't know, because I just told you a scenario where me and my friends were sober. We didn't even have anything to drink that night. And I felt as hot-headed as I did. But let me tell you, man, I don't care. I don't care how often you jog. I don't care how many days a week you hit the weights. You ain't gonna win a battle against a cop any day of the week. And some of these cops shady as fuck. They got the body cams, and supposedly the body cams, that's to protect you and it's to protect them from the standpoint of, yeah, see, these officers, they ain't doing nothing wrong. They're doing their fucking job, right? No. Some of these cops, they try to sabotage the body cam and all that. So you gotta fucking be much smarter. You just got to, man. I can't stress that enough. My brothers and sisters. And when I say my brothers and sisters, I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're Indian. I don't care if you're Hispanic. I don't care if you're white. You're all my brothers and sisters as far as I'm concerned. You don't need to be going out like that over some stupid bullshit. Know your rights. Cooler heads always prevail. You get pulled over. You make sure your hands are visible and officers can see you. Hello, officer. How are you today? How may I assist you? Was I going the speed limit? Is my light out? Is my vehicle okay, officer? How can I be a better driver for you this evening? Right? You cooperate. Kill a motherfucker with kindness. That always gets you out the door and moving so much quicker. Get you back out there on the road so you can go where you need to go. Can't stress that enough. I know it sucks, but in today's society, that's how we gotta play it right now. That's how we gotta play. That's how we been had to play it. Seriously. So, D-Generation X, they're going into the WWE Hall of Fame. I'm happy. I'm happy. Look, everybody's pretty much saying the same thing. Hey, wish it was China that was going in as a solo act. Don't we all? Don't we all? Seriously, don't we all? But you know what? To finally have China go in, even though it's part of DX, just the fact that she's going in, I'm happy. I'm happy. This has been a long time coming. It's long overdue. And we've seen the history of people going into the WWE. We've seen the history. This person's a little bit intoxicated. This person is still dealing with some demons. Alright, not right now. Let's not pull the trigger just yet. Let's wait and see what's going on with them. Let's see if they can get themselves cleaned up. That has been the pattern of WWE. And sadly, at the time in which China wanted to get back in good graces with the WWE, she was not in the right frame of mind. And that's the honest truth. I don't like saying that about the late China, but that's the truth. She was not in the right state of mind. The intentions might have been okay, but there was so much damage that she did in interviews that even Sean Waltman had called her out on the bullshit. I'm sure you guys remember the freaking infamous Sirius XM interview that she had gave, and she was saying all that fucked up shit about Paul Levesque, and Sean Waltman had called in and called her out on the bullshit and everything. And you could just watch the demeanor of the radio host change over several minutes as they just looked disgusted. They looked repulsed that they were even continuing to conduct this interview with China. Right? So, I mean, she did so much damage before she passed this earth that for her to say what she said and then, I just want to make peace, and, she needed to seriously be on that road to recovery for a couple of years and really prove to all the parties involved that bygones are truly bygones and that she was no longer harboring on stuff that happened in the past, because that's in the past. What she can't control is the present, and she can control her future. And it's very sad. It is very sad and tragic how her life had ended. But I honestly believe that if she would have been able to continue to be on the road of sobriety, be on the road of drug-free, hook up with a really nice man, get married, have a kid, maybe, just maybe, and be that way for a couple of years, and consistent at that, I have a feeling that maybe around this time, had she still been alive, maybe then it could have been a situation of her going into the Hall of Fame, whether it is as part of DX or as a solo act. I'm not really sure, but if she would have, because think about it, all these other people that did all of these heinous fucked up things, said all these things, conducted themselves in an unprofessional manner, and they ultimately were forgiven. It's one of those we won't really know, sadly, but we can deal with the facts as it stands right now. She's going in as part of D-Generation X, and I would think, without a shadow of doubt, DX is going to be your main headliner. Doesn't seem like, it's safe to say, doesn't seem like Undertaker is going to be going in this year. Maybe Taker is going to go in next year. Speaking of which, since last we were on the air, you saw the news about Undertaker. Undertaker is going to be part of AEW Weekend for their StarCast Raw. Look, I would like to believe that Vince McMahon and crew, they honestly said to the Taker, man, go out there, get that money. Cause we ain't really got no plans for you right now. We aren't really doing anything. If you have an opportunity to make some serious cash before we put you into the WWE Hall of Fame and let you do a little limited tour, a limited WWE tour, as we get ready to put a nice pretty little ribbon around your career, man, any opportunity you have to make some serious dough, go out there and get it. Go get that cash. We ain't hating. We know the game. We would do it ourselves. Go ahead. Go do it. I think it is a firm agreement. Anybody that thinks Undertaker is maybe going to wrestle for, AEW or Impact Wrestling or Lucha Underground, I'm not seeing any of that happen. I don't see any of that happen. Honestly, I think it is just a firm handshake deal, and Taker is able to go out and do these things. But he will be back in the WWE. He still got to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. And look, something may still happen come WrestleMania time. Taker may do a little something. You never know. But I think that is really awesome for AEW, Conrad Thompson. I think that's awesome that they were able to get Undertaker for this event. That puts even more attention on StarCast. It's smart booking when it's all said and done. Okay, give me a reason. If I did the first StarCast, give me something that's enticing. What's the carrot here? Bring me out. What you got? Give me your best. Make me want to come out of my pocket. And the fact that you got Undertaker, rare appearance, yeah, that's going to attract a lot of people. A lot of people. So I remember when I was at AwesomeCon last year. Yeah, last year. I didn't mean to say AwesomeCon. I meant to say, I remember when I did the CM Punk meet and greet last year. I remember talking to a guy, and he was telling me how he's heard rumblings that sometime in 2019, Taker is supposed to be doing something with Pro Wrestling Tees. They were trying to work something out last year, but things didn't come to fruition or something like that. And I was like, really? He was like, yeah, the rumblings are Taker is going to be coming to Pro Wrestling Tees very soon. And I remember asking him, well, how soon are you hearing? He's like, I'm hearing 2019. So, I mean, when you kind of stop and think about everything that's happening right now, yeah, if he were to do something at Pro Wrestling Tees, seems like this would be the year, right? Seems like this would be the year for him to do something like that. So, but I think it's a very smart move. Puts even more attention on that event, especially that whole StarCast Raw. That's smart. That is really, really smart. Now, what I don't really see enough people talking about, there's a picture that Undertaker had posted on his Twitter, and it's just a picture of him and Steve Austin. And I remember I put a tweet out. I said, in response to the pic, I said, you don't suppose this is Undertaker's way of telling fans that Steve Austin is going to be part of StarCast Raw, do you? Give you a little something to think about, just saying. Just saying, anything is possible. So, if they could land Steve Austin as well, holy shit, is all I gotta say. That would be, yeah. But it looks as though they are really trying to do their best to up the ante on this one. I really, really like that. Seeing what Freddie had said in the chat just a couple of minutes ago with regards to the bookend I had put on the Jimmy Uso thing, Freddie had said, and that is also the issue. Not many people want to be respectful to officers, no matter who is in the wrong or what the situation is. I have friends and family members that always talk bad about them and never act right or mature when around one. And that's also why they get treated poorly back. I have not been stopped by an officer much, but whenever I have, I'm always acting right, and 10 out of 10 times, I'll walk out happy, safe, and sometimes with a warning instead of a ticket. And that's the best way you gotta play it, Freddie. That's the best way you gotta play it. Hands on the wheel. Hey, officer, how you doing tonight? How can I help you? You gotta play it like that, no matter what. No matter what, because they will be, however you treat them. I always believe, even when somebody is acting shitty towards you, kill a motherfucker with kindness. Because when you just keep coming at them with the kindness, eventually it makes them wear down. And it makes them wear down in such a way where it's, damn, why am I acting this way towards this dude? Man, this dude ain't done nothing to me. Why am I acting like a dick towards him? That ain't right, man. Let me go ahead. Let me stop this shit. Right? You'd be surprised. It goes a long way. Try it sometimes, folks. Try it sometimes. See some other headlines here as we are winding on down here. One last thing I want to get into. Actually, no, forgive me. I see three other things I can get into. All right. So one's wrestling related. Let me come back to that. By now, I'm sure you heard the news about Marvel Netflix experiment. It's officially over. As Monday, they canceled Jessica Jones, although they did say, hey, as far as the third season of Jessica Jones, it is still going to happen. You guys ain't got to worry about that. But we're still going to go ahead and we're going to cancel it. All right. Cool. All right. And they've also canceled The Punisher. Pretty damn sad, I know. Look, man, I know everybody is just, Disney Plus. First off, Disney Plus, it's already been established that is going to be a platform for friendly-oriented content. I repeat, friendly-oriented content. So we can forget about shows like Daredevil, Luke Cage. We can forget about the usual suspects. They're not going to be on that platform. If there's any hope of them being on a platform, you want to be hoping for Hulu. Because once this merger goes down, you already know Disney owns a boatload of stock in Hulu. All right. And Jeff Loeb, he's already said, hey, Hulu would be a really great platform. We got to see how everything else plays out. He's almost blatantly saying to fans, don't trip. They're going to come back on Hulu. We're just figuring it out. But see, there's a 1-2 punch with this. The first punch, they got to wait until this 20th Century Fox deal is finalized. But then even at that, here's the second punch. They got to make sure that enough time has gone by. Apparently, the way these Netflix deals were set up, even after the show is canceled, apparently Netflix can continue to hoard these shows out for 18 months up to 2 years. So once that has expired, then, and only then, will Disney be able to take these shows and be able to put them on whatever platform. Because see, think about it from this standpoint. Let's say you make an arrangement with me where I show 10 episodes of your series on my platform. And the contract is set up in such a way where, hey, if I decide I'm going to cancel this series, well, I have all the rights to it, licensing fees and all that. I've got that for another 2 years. Now, if you want to take that series and you want to shop it around to another network, you can do that, but you're going to have to pay me a certain fee to do that. Basically, you're buying the license, the rights, all that, so that now you can officially own it and you can go shop it around. It's no different than what's going on with that metal show. Longtime listeners know I've always been a big fan of that metal show with Jim Florentine, Eddie Trunk, and oh God, I can't remember the third guy. Steve Brewer. No, not Steve. I wish it was Steve Brewer, but no. And for the longest time after VH1 had canceled that metal show, eventually Eddie Trunk and the gang, they were Don Jamieson. I'm sorry. That's who it was. Eddie Trunk, Jim Florentine, Don Jamieson. Eventually Eddie Trunk and guys, they were able to buy all the rights, buy everything up. So licensing and all that, they got VH1's blessing. They're like, yeah, no, here, go ahead. And so no takers. Nobody is interested in that metal show. Now, that's not going to be the same fate for any of these damn shows, but the fact that you got Hulu, right? So the earliest we could possibly see a show is maybe 2020. It's possible. 2020. More realistically, 2021. But you just gotta feel bad for the cast of Jessica Jones. I'm sure they just wrapped up production and they're probably feeling all good. They probably feel ecstatic about this upcoming season, and boom. I mean, when's the last time you heard of a series that was canceled after they just wrapped up production on their newest season and it hasn't even been given a premiere launch date? When's the last time you heard some shit like that? Is that crazy or what? And then you gotta feel bad for Walking Dead's John Bernthal, the Punisher. You gotta feel bad for it. I feel bad for him, and I feel bad for Mike Coulter. Cause I remember when the news had came out via AwesomeCon that Mike Coulter was gonna be there. I was going, oh man, that's awesome. And this was before the news came out. If I'm not mistaken, this was before the news came out that Luke Cage got, actually, you know what? Hang on. My timeline's a little fucked up. Hang on. All right. It's coming back to me now. And actually, you know what? Correction. Cause I remember when Luke Cage was canceled, I was actually out in PA for a retreat. And when AwesomeCon made the announcement, earlier this year. Yeah, I think right at about January, I think. I'm trying to think. They either made the announcement in somewhere between November to January that Mike Coulter was going to be there. I remember saying to one of my coworkers, man, that kind of sucks. He's going to be there, but he ain't going to be able to put over Luke Cage because shit got canceled. And then a great season 2 of Punisher. I don't care what anybody says. I fucked with that show. The show was good. Were there inconsistencies? I remember when me and Mitch were talking. Yes, I agree. There were definitely inconsistencies. It was still a decent show. John Bernthal, when he had those scenes where he summoned up the Punisher, he was very convincing. One of the best damn to date Punisher portrayals other than Thomas Jane. I would definitely give the motherfucker that. But now his show's canceled and they literally just made the announcement that he's going to be at AwesomeCon. So we got 2 guys that have 2 shows that's been canceled, and it's like, so what are you plugging now? It's crazy. I feel for those guys, but I'm not going to feel too bad. Like I said, once this Hulu deal, everything gets finalized and everything, and the licensing fees, everything that's red tape attached to Netflix, once all that has expired, 2021, I think in some form we're going to see these characters, these shows come back again. So don't trip, guys. Don't trip. And look, I ain't going to spend 20 minutes on this. Bully Ray pissed off some of my colleagues. Pissed off, one of my colleagues in, John Draper from, Wrestling Soup. Can't think of the other guy's, name, but, long story short, Bully Ray, he said some unkind, unflattering things, about some of my colleagues. And like I said, I don't even need to spend 10 minutes on this. All I need to say is this. Why are we wasting time, energy on Bully Ray? Because Bully Ray, let me tell you something about Bully Ray. And I learned this firsthand, which has since made me not give two shits about what he has to say. I will go to anybody else that has the same amount of years as he in the business, if not more. And most importantly, I respect them. And I know they respect their fan base. Than Bully Ray. Let me tell you something about Bully Ray. I remember, and this isn't a long drawn out story. I remember a couple of years back when Alberto Del Rio was still messing with Paige. I remember there were reports that was out there by all the wrestling sites saying that Alberto was beating the crap out of Paige, that he was physically abusing her. He was putting his hands on her. And I remember her brother was threatening Alberto. Family was said to be very concerned. They wanted her to come home. They wanted her to ditch Alberto, all that shit. And this was right at about the time when Alberto became Alberto El Patron, and he had made the deal with Impact Wrestling. And I'll never forget that at one point, I don't know if Bully Ray is still doing it to this day. I honestly could give two shits not. But I remember Bully Ray at one point was co-host of, I guess, Busted Open Radio. I think that's the name of the show. You guys would have to let me know. But I remember he was co-host for, at that point, he had a handful of months under his belt. Under his belt as a co-host. And Alberto and Paige, they came on the show. At this point, Paige was just weighing in her options. WWE said, hey, nah, man, you don't need to get that surgery. You're good to go. And Paige decided she was going to go outside of the WWE, get a second, third opinion. And this was around that period where everybody was really concerned about her because she looked extremely skinny and all that. You guys remember the time period. So she was basically just kind of like a cute valet around the arm of Alberto. Whatever media obligations he had going on, she was always there. So she tags along with him to this Busted Open radio interview. And I remember Bully Ray asked nothing but softball fucking questions for the entire time. And I remember somebody had tagged me, Mish, Don Tony, like all they tagged like a certain amount of us. Not that many, but they tagged a certain amount of us. And they were like, what did you guys think about Bully Ray, the interview with Alberto and Paige? Bully Ray was talking to them. And I remember hearing audio. I remember reading the transcript. And I remember saying, for me, it really wasn't, that good of an interview from the standpoint, I really wish Bully Ray would have tackled the reports about the domestic abuse. And just if they wanted to say something with regards to that, because there's a lot of stuff that's out there, maybe misinformation, give them an opportunity to tell their side. And I remember because I said that, Bully Ray blocked me. So that spoke volumes to me that, here was a case where Bully could have honestly came right back and said, well, Lee, I'm sorry you feel that way, but the reason why I did not bring that question up, I felt that was a serious personal matter that should just stay between them. However, if they wanted to bring it up, They could have. They did not tell us anything about any restrictions. They were comfortable asking whatever questions. Or, if you want to tell a lie, well, Lee, I appreciate that. That's a good point that you made. But before we went on the air, Alberto had said under no circumstances were they going to talk about XYZ with regards to this. Sorry if you didn't like the interview, but, I can only do but so much. Or, hey, Lee, you ever heard the old saying, protect the boys, we're not trying to air each other's business out there like that. He could have came anyway. And the fact that he just went with the whole block, it was, okay, let me tell you how insensitive his girlfriend Velvet Sky is. And this is the God's the honest truth. And look, if I piss off any hardcore Velvet Sky fan, hey, you need to talk to Velvet. I remember vividly the circumstances surrounding why Velvet Sky ended up blocking the RCWR show on Twitter. She ended up blocking the show because there was one infamous episode of Impact Wrestling where the beautiful people, they had reunited. It was like the second go around, the second coming basically. And I remember there was one episode of Impact Wrestling where, man, the outfits that they were wearing, it had a Sesame Street Muppet vibe to it. And I want to say the tweet that I put out there was, my God, Velvet, Angelina, girls, please do not wear them type of outfits again. It looks like Big Bird had crashed into a rainbow or got ran over by a rainbow. I said some shit like that. And, some people were like, Lee, you kidder or whatever. And I remember, I don't know, like a month or two later, I was just trying to see what was going on with Velvet, because she was actually one of my favorites in Impact. I thought she was a cute little Jezebel little thing. I used to like checking in and seeing her tweets and all that, and couldn't find her. And I'm like, what the hell? I was like, damn, did she change? I remember I did a Bing search, Velvet Sky, Twitter. It's like, okay, yeah, there's her official. She's got the blue check mark. Okay, great. Clicked on it. Next thing you know, you have been blocked from viewing this person's profile. And I said, wow. It's like, I didn't make fun of her weight. I didn't make fun of her face. I just said the attire. That's all I said. It's like, wow, we're being that. I mean, damn, wouldn't you want to know if you were kind of wearing something that looked a little silly? Wouldn't you want somebody, if you're already thinking, I don't really think I should be wearing this. I don't really know. And somebody's telling you online, confirm your suspicions. I'm telling you, some of these wrestling personalities, that's why I always tell people, be careful when it comes to meeting your favorite personality. Be it a musician, an athlete, you name it. Be careful. Actor, be careful, because you may be in for heartbreak. You may be in for disappointment. And you know the old saying, it's usually never meet your idols, because you'll always be disappointed, right? And just to see the amount of people that were taking a massive shit on Bully Ray, I mean, for this guy, I didn't like how he came after John. I didn't like the fact that he was digging through another man's profile, digging up old pictures of how he used to look. All right, so you pull up this picture where he's overweight, but that picture is from like a couple of years ago. He's lost 125 pounds since then. Dude, is that the best you got? Then you want to start making fun of the guy's teeth, and who the fuck are you? You still continue to struggle with weight. Did you forget how you looked when you first were breaking out in ECW and all that? So what? Because now you got some nice looking woman around your arm that's got ridiculous amount of plastic surgery done to herself and all that. What? Now all of a sudden you forgot? Now that you got it good, you all of a sudden you forgot? You know, that's not being humble. That damn sure is not being humble. So, I'm not surprised at how Bully Ray and his woman were acting. I'm not surprised one little bit. I understand why Bully acted the way that he did initially, because his woman was thrown into the mix. And history shows, you mention a dude, mention a dude's woman, you mention the dude, they'll let that fly. You mention their woman, okay, gloves are off. But in either case, stupid. Just stupid all around. You know, and ever since he did what he did with that Alberto thing, I have not given two shits about him. Haven't spent any energy. None of that shit. So much so, I'll never forget. I remember there was Rob Feinstein of our video. I remember there was a DVD set that he was promoting on his Facebook page. And I remember a buddy of mine had put a bug in the back of my ear. He said, you know, if you come across any good Dudley Boys merchandise, let me know. And I remember Rob Feinstein, he had this really great deal that was going on. He had a signed Bubba Ray figure. He had a signed Dudley Boys ECW era DVD. Because remember, Rob owns the entire library of ECW. Original music, all that shit. So he had like a compilation, of some of their best matches. And Rob was selling all of this for like, I think $40. And I remember I had told my friend about it, and he's like, okay, cool, thanks. Hey, are you going to get that? I know you like the Dudley Boys. I said, nah, because 9 times out of 10, some of that money's going to go to Bubba Ray, and I don't like Bubba Ray. It's like, damn, it's like that? I said, yeah. Devon, I ain't got no problem with Devon. Something with Devon, I'll buy from him, but it's like, nah, I don't particularly care for that dude. It's like, damn. I was like, yeah, I know, but it is what it is. Right? So, that's all I gotta say about that. One last thing I want to get into, John Wayne. John Wayne has made headlines and I looked up the guy's profile that had mentioned this. There was some guy, he's got like about maybe 500, 600 followers. Supposedly he wrote a script for something on Netflix. Okay, well, if you wrote something on Netflix and it's already aired, don't you think it makes all the sense in the world to put that over? Because that is part of your resume. So if you are a aspiring producer, writer, and all that, don't you think you need to mention, oh yeah, I've got this thing on that's part of your resume? Dummy, yeah. Anyway, this guy, I guess he got tired of jerking off, or his girlfriend was asleep and she wouldn't roll over and give him head. I don't know what the fuck. He spends the midnight oil just looking up shit online, and he finds the infamous interview transcript of John Wayne, 1971, Playboy. Now look, people, for years, what John Wayne has said about socialism, blacks, that has always been part of his Wikipedia page. That has been part of his Wikipedia page for years. You know how I know? Because I am a big John Wayne fan. And every time I come across a John Wayne movie, I always read his Wikipedia. I visit forums, all that. So I can attest that at least within the last 5 years, because I've probably checked maybe a couple of times a year, that information about the Playboy, that's always been there. Always. All you have to do is type in John Wayne Wiki. It's always been there. That's the beautiful thing about Wikipedia. You can see timestamps, dates on when somebody went in to edit somebody's page. Right? That information has always been there. And everybody is in a fucking uproar about these comments. These are basically the social justice warriors. Now you've got people that want to say, oh, John Wayne, piece of shit, blah, 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 blah. And shout out to Mish. I had a really great back and forth conversation with him about this on Facebook. And I was just amazed at how the social justice warriors were, wow, you're going with an interview that is almost 50 years old. The guy is long dead. He can't defend himself. It must be a slow week. It must be a serious slow week. And it's so funny because I had, over the weekend, before this shit broke out, I actually had spent the weekend, Friday night, as a matter of fact. I recorded a new episode of 30 with Lee, and I was reviewing 1974's McHugh. And it was the first time that John Wayne had ever hooked up with director John Sturgis. And it was the first time that John Wayne had portrayed a cop. He was basically trying to capitalize on the Dirty Harry franchise. And I talked about, towards the end of the episode, it's going to be available for everybody to listen to. And I'll say probably, if not Wednesday, maybe Thursday, I'll make it go live for everybody to hear. For free for all. But I basically tackled how would John Wayne have fared in the 80s? Would he been able to continue to, be okay, or would he have fizzled out? And I basically said, with the rise during the 70s of blaxploitation films, the rise of Good Times, Sanford and Son, the Jeffersons, Fat Albert, looking at Richard Pryor, Bill Cosby, even Sidney Poitier was still doing a decent string of moderately successful movies in the 70s, but Pam Grier, Fred Williamson, Superfly, Shaft, just looking at that explosion as far as blaxploitation, not just in films, but just in sitcoms, everything, right? And then looking at the structure of where we were going musically. Disco was, getting ready to meet its demise. We had rock bands that were getting more and more popular. 80s was getting ready to usher in glam metal. MTV was getting ready to launch. Pro wrestling, rap, hip hop, all that was significantly gonna be on a serious rise. So many actors that have gone on to become household names were all just jockeying for the number one position in the 80s. John Wayne would have fizzled out. And as far as him being a director, you can forget about that, because there was just no way he could really adapt with the times. And that was my whole argument with regards to, if John Wayne would have been all right, we know for a fact he would not have made it to the 90s. But good health, conditioning and all that, cutting back on the drinking, smoking, eating smarter. Could he have made it through the 80s? Yes. But he would not. What we saw of him in the 70s, it was a last ditch effort of a man that was trying to stay relevant. And that interview that he did in 1971, can we be for real? Y'all want to talk about this, right? Know your fucking history. Smoke on this for a minute. Martin Luther King died in 1968. I repeat, 1968. Robert F. Kennedy, he was assassinated in 1968 as well. Malcolm X, he was assassinated a couple of years prior, 1965. So, you go to this interview that John Wayne did in 1971. Understand something, that these great leaders, aspiring leaders, that tragically were killed, race relations were still at an all-time high. Even though, oh, we need more unity, we need to be done with the blacks only, blah this and blah that, you still had in 1971 a lot of areas in North America that were going, no, I'm not fucking adjusting to the time. No, fuck them people. Fuck them colored people. You still had ignorance. Just because MLK and Malcolm X had died and Robert and John, just because they had died, I don't want for people to think just magically racism just by 1971, it went under the rug. It just disappeared into thin air, because that's not it. That's not what happened. Now you look at what year John Wayne was born. John Wayne was born in the early 1900s. To be exact, John Wayne was born in 1907. 1907. So here is a man, a woman's place needs to be in the home, taking care of the kids, making sure that supper is on the table when I come in. If I decide I want to have another kid, whether she wants it or not, she needs to get ready, right? That was the mentality back then. No, woman, work? Psh, you have a job. It's taking care of the home. It's taking care of the kids. You having the right to vote? You having an opinion? No. You don't have that, right? You got to understand the culture of what was going on back then when this guy was growing up. So what, you're trying to tell me that somebody that is in their mid to late 60s by 1971, right? You're trying to tell me that all of a sudden, what, they're going to do a 180? If they've been taught a certain way since they were a kid, and they've accepted that ideology, they've never challenged that ideology, that's the fault of the people that raised that individual and ultimately on that individual. And I'm sorry, but the interview that he gave to Playboy, that showed how outdated he was in his mind. That showed how outdated he was with the times. God's the honest truth. It's no different than the interview that Clint Eastwood had gave out. Anybody remember that? And how the transgendered girl owned his ass? Anybody remember that? He gave the speech or whatever, the Republican key speech a couple of years back, and people were like, what the fuck? And they were going, man, Clint Eastwood seems like, man, he ain't with the times. He seems out of touch. When you look at the stuff that John Wayne had said back in 1971, that was not of a man that was synced in with the current times. That was a man that was still believing in a certain ideology that was bestowed upon him since birth. Let me read to you just some of the stuff that he had said here, that had so many people up in a uproar. He expressed his views after taking aim at African American political activist Angela Davis. He's saying, and I quote, with a lot of blacks, there's quite a bit of resentment along with their dissent, and rightfully so, he told Playboy publication. But we can't all of a sudden get down on our knees and turn everything over to the leadership of blacks. He added, I believe in white supremacy until the blacks are educated to a point of responsibility. I don't believe in giving authority and positions of leadership and judgment to irresponsible people. He claimed that the academic community has developed certain tests that determine whether blacks are sufficiently equipped socialistically, and some blacks have tried to force the issue and enter college when they haven't passed the test and don't have the requisite background. Yeah. Also, Wayne had made insensitive remarks about the LGBTQ representation in Hollywood, telling Playboy that he considers films like Midnight Cowboy and Easy Rider to be perverted, saying, and I quote, "Wouldn't you say that the wonderful love of those two men in Midnight Cowboy, a story about two fags, qualifies?" Wayne noted when asked which movies he doesn't support. "But don't get me wrong. As far as a man and a woman is concerned, I'm awfully happy there's a thing called sex. It's an extra something God gave us. I see no reason why it shouldn't be in pictures. Healthy, lusty sex is wonderful." There was also a part in this where, and I'm actually looking at my what's the thing you guys call when you're uploading stuff? Not the cloud. It's something else that you guys have. Dropbox. I'm trying to see if I have my Dropbox handy here. And I think I do. Yes, I do. All right. Here is something that Dropbox. Here it is. Show me my Dropbox. I'm trying to pull this up in the Dropbox here for you guys. Give me recent. No, I can't pull it up now, and that sucks. Hang on. Let me try one more thing. Let me see if I can pull it up. Because if I can pull it up, there it is, Dropbox. Good. Okay, let me read to you this one thing that he said about casting blacks. I'm just reading you guys the parts where, where he pissed off a lot of people today, but it's like, what the fuck are you guys thinking here? Let's see if I can find it here. Playboy. Right, so we see that. Violence. Wayne. I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. Hang on. Yeah, I can't find it. But there was some part in this Playboy interview where basically he had said that with regards to casting blacks in his movies, he has no problems casting blacks. That whatever the minimum he needs for casting blacks. As a matter of fact, I think no. I thought I might have found it. Actually, you know what? I think I might have found. Yes, I found it. Okay, so here was the question that Playboy asked. They said many militant blacks would argue that they have it better almost anywhere else. Even in Hollywood, they feel the color barrier is still up for many kinds of jobs. Do you limit the number of blacks you use in your pictures? Wayne: "Oh Christ, no. I've directed 2 pictures and I gave the blacks their proper position." "I had a black slave in the Alamo, and I had a correct number of blacks in the Green Berets. If it's supposed to be a black character, naturally, I use a black actor." Lord have mercy, ignorant as fuck. But anyway, but I don't go so far as hunting for positions for them. I think the Hollywood studios are carrying their tokenism a little too far. There's no doubt that 10% of the population is black or colored or whatever they want to call themselves. They certainly aren't Caucasian. Anyway, I suppose there should be the same percentage of the colored race in films as in society, but it can't always be that way. There isn't necessarily going to be 10% of the grips or sound men who are black, because more than likely 10% haven't trained themselves for that type of work. Playboy: "Can blacks be integrated into the film industry if they are denied training and education?" Wayne: "It's just as hard for a white man to get a card in the Hollywood craft unions." It's a fascinating, when you go and read the entire transcript, the person that conducted the interview, they did a fantastic job. They really did. I would definitely say go out of your way and check it out. You guys got some spare time. It's rather lengthy. It's not something you're going to be able to finish in 20 minutes. You would probably need about maybe 40 minutes tops just to get through it. But I'm amazed. I knew about this shit years ago. Anytime me and the missus would talk about movies, we would talk about John Wayne, and, we would bring that type of stuff up. Look, good actor. When you think Westerns, yes. I personally believe that John Wayne has selected racism. And you know what I mean by that? What I mean by selected racism is that certain individuals, they're okay. But yeah, fuck them other people right there. Nah, fuck them. They're colored. And what I mean by that is when you look at his 3 ex-wives, his 3 ex-wives were Spanish. Now, I'm not really sure how many of you were aware of that, but his 3 ex-wives were Spanish. So think about back then. Again, this is a great conversation I had back and forth with Mish. You look at the way that blacks were portrayed, probably all the way up until, really, if you want to be honest, blacks were portrayed in cinema as ignorant, stupid. They can't read. They can't write. I watched this movie with James Cagney and Edward G. Robinson. It's called Smart Money. It's from the early 1930s. And you have this black man, old black man, he's sweeping the floors. And at one point he goes out and apparently there's a woman that wants to see James Cagney. So he comes in and he says, "Hey, boss, this lady outside won't see you." And James Cagney, Edward G. Robinson, he says to the guy, "Well, how do you know it's a lady?" And the guy goes, "Well, boss, she be wearing a dress." It's like, okay, so bad enough we're portraying the blacks in these movies. They can't read. They can't write. And now the only way they can depict whether or not somebody is a male or a female is whether or not they got a skirt on. Right? So if they're not some type of a maintenance man or a train conductor, they are a maid, they're a butler, they're a chauffeur, or they're picking cotton. When you look at how the Japanese were portrayed, Japanese, Asian, Pacific Islander, that shit don't matter. All Japs look the same. That was the mentality back then. What's the fucking difference? They're all slanty-eyed. Legit. You look at the movies, how did they portray them? Big, wide, slanty eyes, big teeth, not really talking, a mockery. Everything was a mockery depiction. When you look at the Mexicans, you look at the Latin community, you look at the way that they were portrayed. They were portrayed as thieves. They were portrayed as thieves. They were portrayed as drunks, right? I mean, you can go on and you can see the stereotype. Look at Native Americans. There's a favorite scene of mine that involves John Wayne from Hondo. And, when he goes up to, the woman, God, I always forget her name and I love her so much. Her name is on the tip of my tongue. God, I want to say Gabrielle. I want to say it's Gabrielle. It's on the tip of my tongue. I'm trying to think. I want to say her name is Gabrielle Page. No, Geraldine Page. Geraldine Page. Such great beauty. One of my all-time favorite scenes from Hondo. John Wayne plays Hondo, and he's behind Geraldine Page, and he goes, "You baked today. I can smell," and he's basically talking about how he's half Native American or whatever, and you're led to be reminded of how Native Americans / Indians were portrayed, way back then, right? Fucking ridiculous. And the stereotypes really did not start to change until cats like Sidney Poitier came along. Louis Armstrong, Sammy Davis Jr., Jackie Robinson, Bill Russell, Muhammad Ali. The names go on and on and on. But in particular, with regards to cinema, you look at what Sidney Poitier did and what he was able to open up, and that pretty much had laid down the foundation for the Bill Cosbys, the Richard Pryors, the Richard Roundtrees to come in there. You look at guys for the Latin community, you look at guys like Eric Estrada and what he was able to do with Chips, soap operas and all that. You look at how he was able to break certain stereotypes, if you will. Ultimately, pretty much paving the way for a guy like Antonio Banderas. Bruce Lee and what he was able to, we talk about a trailblazer. Certain stigma to a degree, but majority of people loved and respected the hell out of Bruce Lee. So, you had all of these individuals that were coming in there and they were really shaking up the foundation. But sadly, you go back to that interview in, 1971, the times were already changing, and it really would have been fascinating had Playboy been able to do a follow-up with John Wayne in 1974, or hell, maybe even a year or 2 years before he passed, just to see where his stance was, had it changed at all. But if you ask me straight up, I find that he had selected racism that would justify how he felt about, say, colored people, say blacks. But when it comes to the Mexicans, let's not get it twisted. Mexicans back then, they didn't get it as bad as blacks, but they still got it bad. And yet there were many times where we saw Mexicans portrayed a certain way in cinema, and we didn't see cats like John Wayne step up and say, hey, that's wrong. You would think he would, because after all, he's good enough to date Mexican women. He's good enough to marry Mexican women. Interesting, yeah. A little bit of food for thought. So, these people that's going to be talking about this, and they're not, because they're not going to do the research. You're just going to react to, I bet you some of these people, John who? Who's that? God damn it, But no, and some people from what I saw online, they got it. Some people were literally saying online, why does this matter? This dude was about to die. Why the fuck should we care, what he had to say when he was, seriously, what the fuck? So, I don't know. Stupid shit. Just stupid shit. Alright, so other than that, god damn, that's a show. I gave you guys, by the time I get done editing this, I gave you guys, looks like a 3-hour show. You guys better enjoy this shit for what it's worth. Alright, at this point, your next edition of the RCWR show is going to be coming at you guys. See what we got here. Looking at the calendar here. You guys are going to get another episode on Tuesday, February 26th, 2019. You guys will definitely be able to enjoy that one. That's 10 p.m. Eastern on Spreaker.com. Also live on YouTube, Discord as well. If you're hearing this on demand and on the downloads and you have not got the hookup for Discord, make sure you get at me on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Use the keywords, the RCWR show. Those of you that's going to be waiting for this, give me about 45 to 50 minutes and I will have this ready to go for your downloading, listening pleasure. When you're on your way out for work, you'll definitely have it. Now, hey, shout out to those of you in the East Coast that's going to be affected by this snow that's coming. Some parts are going to see about up to 10 inches. Most common areas, it's going to be about maybe 5, 6. Do be careful because we're supposed to be seeing a lot of that wet snow turn into ice on the roads. And as y'all know, that can be very dangerous. Have a lot of patience out there. And honestly, if you don't have to be out there, don't be on the roads. Stay home, be nice and safe, stay warm, all that jazz. All right, guys, I will see you all next go round. And in the meantime, wishing all y'all to be safe and most importantly, be kind to one another. I will see you next go round. Y'all do take care.
Thanks for listening. An Infinity One Productions presentation, keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive.